What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 6 Chains 151 The death of Zan Tamaru. Hugo, the captain of the first team of the Great Sha Pirates and Char's most trusted confidant, did not disappoint Char at this moment. Marine suffered a lot from his outstanding command, and the prisoners who had just met him for a short time were very obedient to Hugo. This group of arrogant prisoners obeyed Hugo's orders and started wave after wave of counterattacks. Hugo shouted at the top of his lungs, "Don't stop firing, just use up all the shells. Use as many as you can, don't worry about whether there will be no shells." Hugo knew very well that in this situation, he could only win people over with his voice, otherwise, once suppressed by Marine's arrogance, the prisoners who had not yet completely returned to their hearts would become more negative. Only victory can be achieved, not defeat. Char, who was preparing to take action in the dark, quietly set his sights on the enemy leader Sengoku. The only thing to do now was to kill Sengoku, the spiritual leader. As long as Sengoku died here, Marine would definitely collapse. Although it is unknown whether there are any peerless masters around Sengoku, and it is unknown what kind of wisdom this man called the resourceful general by the pirates will have, this is the only way now. Sengoku had a serious expression and his hands behind his back, as if he didn't care at all about being suppressed by the enemy at this moment. "It's time to start," Sengoku murmured. "Hey, is it my turn?" Kizaru, who was trimming his nails, said. 177 Yes, this person is Kizaru. Sengoku considered that Kizaru and Char had fought many battles, so he brought him here. Sengoku hummed and said in a low voice, "I think Char should take action too. This time, we must catch this notorious poisonous dragon." Kizaru didn't look serious at all. After yawning, he put down the nail clips in his hand and stood up slowly. "Well, I'll be back soon." After saying this, Kizaru's figure became blurred, and the next moment he appeared on the ship of the Great Sha Pirates. The prisoners were concentrating on facing the Marine in front of them, and Kizaru's appearance made them confused. "Who is this? It seems to be Kizaru. That's Marine, shoot." The prisoners immediately reacted and shot at Kizaru. The bullets depicting flying arcs penetrated Kizaru's translucent body, as if hitting a bottomless pit. "Damn, what's wrong with this person?" Advertisement. "He is the ability user of sparkling fruit, bullets have no effect on him. Then fight him in close combat." The prisoners came to the conclusion that they could only fight Kizaru in close combat, so they all rushed towards Kizaru with red eyes, as if they were injected with chicken blood, and suddenly there were bursts of loud noises on the ground of the bell tower. How could they be willing to be caught by Marine and impelled down or executed? So at this time, the prisoners' emotions were not as low as Hugo's, but unimaginably high. Kizaru flashed an evil smile on his face, his eyes clearly revealed a sharp killing intent, and he gathered the terrible photons on his right leg, and then, light speed kick. A flash of light was imprinted in everyone's eyes, and then they were all knocked away with disbelief on their faces, and the strong impact force flew all over their bodies. After doing all this, Kizaru seemed to have done a good thing, and said nonchalantly, "It's so boring, Kizaru." A shadow quickly approached Kizaru, followed by a fist with venom. Kizaru's eyes flashed cold, and he kicked at the opponent at the speed of light without fear. Char couldn't help but retreat a few steps after resisting Kizaru's light speed kick, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. On the other hand, Kizaru was not in any better condition, because he was hit by Char's full-strength attack head-on, causing him to feel his face twisted by the attack and his bones were broken. Kizaru suddenly vomited a lot of blood from his mouth with a wow sound, and looked at Char in disbelief. I'm afraid he couldn't understand why Char suddenly became so strong, so that he became so miserable. A prisoner stumbled to his feet, pointed his sword at Kizaru excitedly, and said, "Chief, let me deal with him." "CFEA. Let me do it. Watch how I kill this kid." Char said lightly. "You retreat." The tone of command in his voice made everyone feel uneasy and they took a few steps back with a look of urgency. At this moment, a huge axe fell from the sky and hit Char fiercely. Char snorted coldly, as if he had sensed this sudden attack, and dodged the blow easily. The axe hit the place where Char was standing, causing the floor to crack instantly, and even causing the entire ship to shake. Seeing this scene, the prisoners couldn't help but take a deep breath, and a flash of panic flashed in their eyes. Char frowned and said coldly, "Zan Tamaru, advertisement." Zan Tamaru raised the axe, showing a ferocious smile, and said, "Dulong, today is your death day. Then you try to open it." Char stretched out his hands and opened his 5 fingers, and a group of venom gushed out from his 5 fingers. These venoms quickly gathered together and turned into a poisonous giant exuding a dangerous breath. The poisonous giant, which had the aura of destroying the earth with a wave of his hand, rushed towards Zan Tamaru without any greeting. Zan Tamaru snorted disdainfully and picked up the giant axe to meet him. Kizaru seemed to have thought of something important, and his face suddenly changed, saying, Hey, don't be careless." However, what Kizaru said was too late, and Zan Tamaru collided with the poisonous giant. The next moment, the poisonous giant seemed unable to stop Zan Tamaru's attack, and the whole body was cut in half by Zan Tamaru's giant axe, and venom continued to splash out of it. "Old man, it seems that your worry is in vain." Zan Tamaru, who thought he had defeated the poisonous giant, smiled contemptuously. At this time, a smug look flashed in Char's eyes, and the venom that had just splashed on the deck gathered together at an incredible speed, quietly approaching Zan Tamaru. Zan Tamaru seemed not to notice, and his body was stained by a large group of venom. After being stained with the unknown venom, Zan Tamaru realized the abnormality. When he turned around in disbelief, it was too late. In the eyes of everyone's disbelief and surprise, Zan Tamaru's huge body fell down. Hey, what's wrong with me? Did I not eat? This was Zan Tamaru's last consciousness. Ding DD. System prompt. Kill the scientific leader Zan Tamaru to get 10 million points. Ding DD. System prompt. Kill the scientific leader Zan Tamaru to get 10 million points. Ding DD. System prompt. Kill the scientific leader Zan Tamaru to get 10 million points. 152 Angry Kizaru. After seeing Zan Tamaru fall, the playful smile on Kizaru's face completely disappeared, replaced by an unprecedented rage. At this time, the Marines who finally broke through the defense line set up by Hugo could not help but be moved when they saw Kizaru with a face full of anger and Zan Tamaru lying in a pool of blood. F***K. What's going on? Isn't that Zan Tamaru? Look, Kizaru's face has changed. This is the first time I have seen Lord Kizaru so angry. Oh my god, what is going on? Something big has happened. Something big has happened. On the other hand, the prisoners were all in high spirits. Ha ha ha, I'll let you be arrogant, I'll let you be arrogant. I thought you were so powerful, but you are no match for the leader. You dare to be our enemy, you are really courting death. I'm afraid you don't even know how to write the word death. In the distance, Sengoku's pupils shrank, and an uncontrollable killing intent surged in his heart. This poisonous dragon was so cruel, and he killed a very promising Marine Vice Admiral. Damn, this poisonous dragon, he should have brought the scientific forces here. After seeing this scene, the old man narrowed his eyes, a gleam of brilliance flashed in his eyes, and he murmured, not bad, young people nowadays. Char, completely out of control. Kizaru put away his playful heart, his eyes were emitting cold light, and with a roar, he exerted his fruit ability to the extreme. Char's mouth corners slightly raised, licked his lips with satisfaction, and said, come on, Kizaru, I have been waiting for this moment for a long time. The next moment, Kizaru opened fire at full power, continuously swinging countless light speed kicks, kicking straight at Char. Char's pupils widened, and his whole body was covered with extremely powerful Haki, which turned into invisible hard armor, and he blocked Kizaru's blow after blow with some difficulty. Advertisement. If it were an ordinary person to withstand this, it would probably be difficult, but Char was different. He had powerful armament Haki and observation Haki that ordinary people could not understand. While Char used the powerful armament Haki to protect himself, he also relied on observation Haki to dodge these light bullets and rushed towards Kizaru. Seeing that his light speed kick had no effect, Kizaru changed to other moves. Yasukani no Magatama. Countless flash bombs rubbed the air and stained sparks, with the force of breaking the wind, attacking Char like a storm. Even Char, who had absorbed the Haki of many masters and became very powerful, was so insignificant in front of this life. Feeling the huge impact force constantly bombarding his body, Char could only grit his teeth and block the countless flash bombs, and at the same time sighed that this was Kizaru's full strength. It was really extraordinary. After only a few dozen seconds, Char finally couldn't resist, and the whole person was blasted into the endless sea by the impact of the Yasukani no Magatama. The sudden change made everyone look panicked. Leader. Countless screams of shock rang out. Char is a demon fruit power. If he falls into the sea, he will surely die. Many pirates looked out and found that Char's figure slowly sank into the sea. Soon, there was no one left. Hey, don't forget me. Kizaru's voice was like the sound of the abyss, which made everyone swallow their saliva, subconsciously cast their astonished eyes at Kizaru, and couldn't help but step back a few steps. The next moment, Kizaru's light speed kick was already rushing towards everyone. Without Char, a master who could compete with Kizaru, the prisoners were no match for Kizaru at all. Run, we are not Kizaru's opponent. Damn it, I didn't expect Char to be defeated so easily. Char is a demon fruit power. If he falls into the sea, he will surely die. The most urgent thing is to run first. We are not Kizaru's opponent at all. After losing Char, the backbone, the prisoners were like a pile of loose sand, allowing Kizaru to slaughter them. At this time, Hugo gritted his teeth and gave the last order to the first team of the Great Shah pirates who were loyal to him. Everyone, take the boat and leave. Advertisement. Sengoku, who witnessed all this, sighed softly. The extremely ferocious poison dragon was finally killed. At the same time, the noble old man frowned, and he seemed to feel that the pirate named Char would not be defeated so easily. Indeed, although Char fell into the sea, he was a demon fruit power and could not swim at all. In common sense, Char, a capable person, would surely die if he fell into the sea. But in fact, he escaped. The reason is simple. Char used the power of the system to extract his poison fruit and turn himself into an ordinary person. After solving the difficulties, Char did not attack Kizaru immediately, but secretly hid the poison fruit in his arms, and then quietly swam from the sea to Sengoku. Char was very clear about the current situation. As long as he succeeded in sneak attacking Sengoku, everything would be solved. At this time, no one thought that Char was still alive, and they all thought he was dead. Marshal Sengoku of the naval headquarters was no exception. At this time, he put all his energy into commanding the battle, and did not notice the 10 shadows approaching him quietly. Char stuck to a wall tightly, trying his best to hide his breath and not expose his existence. At the same time, Kizaru kept kicking at the speed of light, defeating all these pirates like scattered sand. Although these prisoners all had extraordinary strength, their opponents were the strongest fighting force of Marine Admiral, world government. Without the poisonous dragon Char, they were no match for Kizaru at all. Kizaru sneered. "Aren't you too proud of yourself? Why are you all useless dogs now?" Although there was a huge gap in strength, some prisoners were unwilling to just catch him held down like this, and they all rushed up to fight with Kizaru. Of course, they soon met their death. Even though there was a dead end ahead, many challengers showed fearlessness and challenged Kizaru. "Go to hell." Johnny, known as the Giant Fist, attacked from behind Kizaru, but Kizaru was not so easily fooled and gave Johnny a quick kick in time, which instantly pierced Johnny's strong body into a bloody hole. Damn it. After making an unwilling groan, Kuni died just like that. The prisoners who were crawling on the ground and groaning saw Johnny's death, and their eyes were filled with a light called despair. "Oh, I know you, young man, you are Zephyr's student." An old man with a noble aura all over his body and elegance in his hands slowly walked over. 153 Lonely Red. When Kizaru saw the person clearly, his pupils shrank rapidly, and he exclaimed in disbelief. "Red of Loneliness, you old man are still alive?" The old man called Red of Loneliness raised his head proudly, a flash of murderous intent in his eyes, and said in a low voice, "Let me test the strength of Zephyr's disciples today." As soon as the voice fell, he turned into a scarlet blood shadow, kicked the ground hard, and rushed straight to Kizaru. Kizaru sighed and his figure flashed. In this way, the two figures collided fiercely, and the fight was evenly matched. Sengoku, who was standing on the bow, frowned when he saw the two equally matched figures. He really didn't expect that the most undesirable thing would eventually be vented, and this Red of Loneliness was still alive. This old master who was in the same era as Roger and Whitebeard was no sham. With the addition of his fruit ability, his current strength was even better than before. However, just when Sengoku was in a trance, Char, who had been hiding in the dark for a long time, saw that the time had come, and approached the defenseless Sengoku at a speed that could not be seen by the naked eye, and punched him in the back. At this time, Sengoku would never have thought that someone would sneak attack him, and it was the poisonous dragon that had just been knocked away. So Sengoku suddenly accepted the attack, and was blown away by Char before he could react. The coldness in Char's eyes flashed, and he continued to chase and beat him, constantly swinging his fists in the air, and immediately beat Sengoku with scars and a lot of blood gushed out of the wound. But Sengoku was a master of his generation after all. After a brief loss of consciousness, he quickly used the fruit energy. Shockwave. A powerful shockwave burst out from Sengoku's palm, and Char's face changed, dodging the terrifying blow in time. Sengoku roughly wiped the corner of his mouth that was oozing blood with his arm, and said in disbelief, "I really didn't expect that you were still alive. Weren't you thrown into the sea? Why are you still alive?" He saw Char sinking into the sea with his own eyes. Was Char rescued by someone else? Not only was Sengoku very surprised, but even the nearby Marines were at a loss. The Marines only realized now that Char's movements were too fast, and there were no unnecessary movements that dragged on. In addition, the suddenness of the incident left them no time to react. Char would not explain so much to him. He knew that time was of the essence and he had to capture Sengoku first, otherwise the loss of troops would be serious. After a cold snort, he rushed towards Sengoku again. Sengoku snorted, and his body suddenly became huge, exuding a solemn aura. A shock wave that tore through the air attacked Char again. Char used brute force to stabilize his body, so that he did not fall into the sea due to the huge wind pressure brought by the shockwave. Sengoku was shocked to see that his attack did not work, and then he sighed that he had underestimated the power of this poisonous dragon. At this time, Char did not launch another attack, but... System. I want a bottle of abundant stamina. The next moment, a bottle of stamina filled with strange liquid appeared in Char's hand without any sign, and Char immediately opened the lid and drank it. This abundant stamina is several times more effective than the previous one, but the cost is naturally high. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. A bottle of abundant stamina cost 1 million points. Advertisement. Just such a small bottle of stamina cost 1 million, but Char did not feel distressed because he had hundreds of millions of points and no longer took the 1 million points seriously. When Char was about to attack Sengoku again, several angry voices rang in his ears. Stop, Skull Dragon, don't get carried away, you're courting death. Shoot, shoot, don't let this poisonous dragon get close to Sengoku. Go to hell, you heinous poisonous dragon, don't underestimate us Marines. After a brief trance, the Marine soldiers reacted and began to attack Char. So the next moment, countless bullets drew arcs one after another, attacking Char in the same direction. Char snorted disdainfully. Although he didn't have the poison fruit, his Haki was always unparalleled in the world. A few seconds later, the bullets hit Char's body very accurately, but these bullets had no effect or damage at all. Because Char had already covered his body with armament Haki, in front of the nearly invincible armament Haki, what effect could a mere bullet have? Don't get too carried away, kid. A marine general with a ferocious face and a tall body rushed towards Char with a broadsword. The broadsword was also equipped with armament Haki, which showed that this person was not as strong as him. Advertisement Sengoku's mouth twitched slightly, and he quickly stopped him and said, Major Shike, you are not his opponent, step back quickly. Unfortunately, Sengoku's words were too late. The figure of the man named Major Shike had already approached Char, and was about to swing the broadsword to kill the seemingly defenseless Char. Char squinted his eyes and did not dodge at all, allowing the broadsword to hit his chest. The next moment, the scene in front of him could make Major Zeike's eyes pop out. A fierce collision sounded, and the broadsword flew up with a crisp sound as if it hit a huge and heavy object. Major Shike stepped back a few steps with disbelief on his face, and his eyes were extremely fearful. That was his full-strength attack, and the broadsword was also equipped with armament Haki. Haki is like a natural enemy to fruit ability users like Char. In other words, Char didn't rely on any fruit ability just now, but only relied on his armament Haki to offset his attack. So how strong is Lee's Haki? Is he still a human? Just when Major Shike was in a state of panic, Char suddenly appeared only a few meters away from him, and then he punched him with all his strength. Major Shike was instantly hit by Char, and flew out with an incredible look on his face, and blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth. Char didn't let go of this existence that was just a point bag in his eyes so easily. He picked up a blade, added armament Haki did, and threw it at Major Shike fiercely, as if he wanted to use the sharpness of the blade to completely kill Major Shike. Don't even think about it. Sengoku reacted in time, and for the safety of the Marines, he could only let a small shockwave burst out. The next moment, this small shockwave made the blade fly away like a strong wind. Shaw's eyes released a cold light, and a murderous aura that seemed to be able to freeze everything emanated from his body. 154 Char's sneak attack. At this moment, a bold idea came to Char's mind. Following Char's idea, he punched the board again, and the huge impact force caused the board to crack, and the whole ship began to shake. The Marine soldiers were confused and didn't know what Char was doing. What is this? What's going on? What is this poison dragon doing? However, the experienced Sengoku knew Char's tricks, and his forehead was bulging with veins, and he shouted at the top of his lungs. The poison dragon is going to destroy this ship and let us sink into the sea. The next moment, before the Marine soldiers could react, the anxious Sengoku suddenly attacked, and another shockwave went to Char. He wanted to use it to interrupt Char's actions. But Char remained unmoved. Facing the powerful shockwave, he continued to wave his arms and hit the board as if nothing had happened. A few seconds later, a powerful shockwave that seemed to suppress the air accurately hit Char. Not only was Char unscathed, but it seemed that he could not stop Char's damn self-destruction. The veins on Sengoku's forehead were bulging even more. If he hadn't cared about the safety of the Marine 923 soldiers, he would have used all his strength to attack Char. At the same time, Kizaru was fighting with the old pirate Red. Kizaru had long been aware of Sengoku's situation and had been trying to get out of it. However, the belligerent Red kept pestering him and prevented him from getting out smoothly, which annoyed him. Advertisement, please spare me. Kizaru said pitiful words, but his actions were merciless, and he kicked with all his strength. Red opened his mouth fiercely, dodged the light speed kick, and seized the flaw that Kizaru revealed this time, and hit Kizaru's chest with a claw. Kizaru's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He knew that if he continued to lose energy like this, it would be troublesome. After being hit by the Red of Loneliness, he did not retreat and regroup, but kicked the Red of Loneliness at the speed of light. Red of Loneliness was hit by this attack at such a distance. Maybe he did not think that Kizaru could counterattack in these few seconds. Although Red of Loneliness attached armament Haki to his chest in time, CFBJ, he could still feel the impact that penetrated his chest, as if it was going to tear his body apart. Red of Loneliness was afraid and quickly retreated a few steps. He put his hand on his chest and began to heal himself with the power of the fruit. You are worthy of being Zephyr's disciple. Red of Loneliness sighed deeply and said slowly. Kizaru said unhappily. Hey, I have nothing to do with that old man Zephyr. Red of Loneliness snorted coldly and said, no matter what, you must die in my hands today. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned into a scarlet blood shadow and attacked Kizaru again. Kizaru's figure flashed and disappeared from the spot, and the lonely Red pounced on nothing. Jiu Gao Ji Hong looked around, but still couldn't see Kizaru. Could he? Jiu Gao Ji Hong seemed to have thought of something, and turned his head to Sengoku's side, only to see Kizaru, who had been fighting with him for a while, actually ran there. Jiu Gao Ji Hong's face turned livid, and he actually chose to abandon him. This was the biggest insult to him. Advertisement at the same time, when Char saw Kizaru rushing over, his eyes were bloodshot as if he saw an enemy, and he rushed over without thinking. Sengoku was relieved when he saw Kizaru coming. Kizaru frowned. He had become physically exhausted because of the many battles just now. If he really wanted to fight with Char, his chances of winning were really uncertain. The serious situation did not allow Kizaru to think too much, because Char's figure was already in front of him. Kizaru kicked at the speed of light without hesitation, wanting to strike first and get rid of Char. the B asterisk 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 D, in one fell swoop. Char threw a punch without dodging, a punch that was straight and clear. With a bang, Kizaru took a few steps back in disbelief, and cast his astonished eyes on his right leg, and found that his right leg was bent and shaped, and waves of pain that tore his body ran straight through his body. This blow did not make Char much better, and his left arm hung down like a kite with a broken string. According to his usual cautious style, Char should have taken the initiative to retreat at this moment to avoid unnecessary trouble, but he did not do so today. That was because this time was an incredible opportunity, a chance to kill Kizaru and seize the sparkling fruit today. Was he going to let it go so easily? Without saying much and ignoring the pain in his left hand, Char suddenly pushed hard on the ground, closing the distance between him and Kizaru at a gust of wind speed, and then while Kizaru was still in a trance, he swung his right fist with all his strength. Kizaru took this blow abruptly, as if there was a strong impact force moving all over his body, and his body was blown into the sea without his control. This scene was exactly the same as the one before when Char was knocked away, but Kizaru didn't have the ability to extract the fruit like Char did. Kizaru, the user of sparkling fruit, quickly sank into the sea. A cold light flashed in Char's eyes, and he also chose to jump into the sea. First, to prevent others from rescuing him, and second, he wanted to extract sparkling fruit from Kizaru's body. If Kizaru's body sank into the sea and couldn't be found, wouldn't it be a big loss? In the eyes of the onlookers, Char was chasing him relentlessly. 10 Marines were anxious. Sengoku frowned even more. As a person with special abilities, he couldn't jump into the sea to rescue Kizaru by himself, so he reminded him sternly. Why don't you hurry up and rescue Kizaru? The Marine soldiers came to their senses and jumped into the sea to rescue him. But there was one thing that Sengoku couldn't figure out. Char was also a person with special abilities. Wouldn't he be looking for death if he fell into the sea? Sengoku frowned tightly, with a cloud of doubt in his heart. In the distance, the footsteps of the Lonely Red stopped slightly, and his eyes were a little surprised. That kid, not bad. I don't know who the Lonely Red is praising, but I know that the person praised by the arrogant Lonely Red must not be a simple person. At this time, Kizaru was actually still conscious, and his body struggled to float to the surface, but how could Char give him this opportunity? In addition, Haki's punch hit his chest, and Kizaru vomited a lot of blood again. Kizaru's eyes were filled with astonishment. When he opened his mouth and was about to say something, his breathing became difficult and his consciousness gradually blurred. A cold light flashed in Char's eyes, and he pinched his neck hard to accelerate his death. 155 Sengoku. After a few seconds, Kizaru's consciousness completely fell into darkness. Kizaru, one of the 3 Marine admirals, died tragically. If the news of Kizaru's death spread to the New World, I wonder what kind of sensation it would cause. In the upcoming summer war, without Kizaru, will the Marines still be able to fight so smoothly? At this moment, a familiar system ringtone flashed in Char's mind. Ding DD. System prompt. Kill Kizaru, one of the 3 Marine admirals, and get 100 million points. Ding DD. System prompt. Kill Kizaru, one of the 3 Marine admirals, and get 100 million points. Ding DD. System prompt. Kill Kizaru, one of the 3 Marine admirals, and get 100 million points. Because Char was in the sea, when he got the news, he was so shocked that he almost let the seawater pour into his mouth. 100 million points. Char couldn't help showing ecstasy. Although he was mentally prepared, when this actually came, Char couldn't help but be moved. This is 100 million points, not a few million points. What makes Char even happier is that he used 100 million points to increase the capacity of devil fruit in his body not long ago. Now after killing Kizaru, the lost points are immediately returned. Ding ding ding. System prompt. Do you want to extract the Haki of Kizaru, one of the 3 Marine admirals? Although Char really wants to absorb this Haki and its fruit ability now, he is still in the dangerous sea. What if he is disturbed by the passing sea kings? So Char was very cautious and swam up slowly holding Kizaru's body. At this time, a series of figures came from not far away. The actions of the Marine soldiers were still a step late. When they saw this scene when they dived into the sea, they couldn't help but be moved. Kizaru in Char's arms seemed to have been dead for a long time. The originally broad chest was now empty, and blood flowed out of it like a spring. Seeing this scene, the Marine soldiers couldn't help but panic, and their eyes were dyed with astonishment. Char didn't give them time to react, so he left the sea and flew back to a ship of the Great Sha pirates. Hugo, who was just preparing to retreat, saw Char flying into the ship, and was delighted. He said happily, "You are okay, leader." The wounded prisoners were also surprised to see Char appear. "Great, the leader is still alive. This is a pleasant surprise. Look, isn't it Kizaru? Is Kizaru dead? Oh my god, this is incredible. It's really worthy of being a poisonous dragon. He actually killed Kizaru. Most of the prisoners here are those who always believe in the banner of the Great Sha pirates. As for those who have second thoughts, they have already jumped into the sea and left here quickly when no one noticed." Char hummed and asked softly, "How much did we lose?" Hugo sighed softly and said, "The loss is very heavy. That giant fist Johnson also died here, and the 2 Benthams and Mr. One you had to pay attention to before were also killed by Kizaru. There is no body. After hearing this, Char couldn't help but feel distressed. These two people have fruit abilities. He didn't have time to extract them from these two people. They were killed by Kizaru. This really made Char feel a little distressed. At this time, Hugo's eyes fell on Kizaru's body that Char was holding. There was a look of disbelief in his eyes, and he hurriedly said, "Isn't this Kizaru?" Hugo still dared not forget the way Kizaru showed Kamui on the ship before, so Hugo, who only met him once, could recognize Kizaru immediately. Char raised his lips slightly and said, "He's dead." His tone was full of smugness and confidence, as if killing Kizaru was the greatest honor for him. Hugo took a deep breath and said in disbelief, "Did you kill him?" Char nodded and said before he could react, "Retreat quickly, I don't want to get involved with Sengoku anymore." Hugo was about to ask how Kizaru was killed, but after hearing what Char said, he swallowed what he wanted to say and continued with his unfinished work. At the same time, Sengoku, who received the news of Kizaru's death, fell to the ground in a daze. The marine soldiers were dumbfounded. Advertisement. Sengoku-sama, what happened to you? Please don't be in any trouble. Oh my god, that Kizaru-sama died here. Whitebeard, one of the four emperors, is likely to rush over next. The death of Kizaru-sama is a major blow to our army. Sengoku-sama, calm down. Yes, the most important thing is to take care of the big things. Sengoku gritted his teeth and resisted the grief in his heart. Kizaru's death was a huge blow to the current situation. Especially for the next Whitebeard attack, the sudden blow made Sengoku not know what to do. Damn, that Char. When thinking of the name Char, Sengoku's eyes could not help showing anger. If he could catch Char in his lifetime, he would definitely kill him to make him feel at ease. But it's useless to say anything now. Sengoku sighed deeply, thinking alone with a sad face. At this moment, a man biting a cigar appeared behind him and said in a low voice, "What are you going to do next, my Sengoku?" This man also wore a marine justice coat, with many scars on his face, and looked like a vicious guy who was not easy to mess with. Sengoku snorted coldly and said, "Vice Admiral DeLong, why are you here now? Where did you go just now?" Marine Vice Admiral DeLong biting a cigar slowly said, "I just went to meet an old friend." Sengoku crossed his arms and said in a deep voice, "Is it the 3.5 old man of Gu Gaojihong?" DeLong hummed and smiled bitterly. "I fought with him for a while at the beginning, and then he beat me away." Sengoku seemed to be a little concerned about Gu Gaojihong's whereabouts, and asked, "Then where did Gu Gaojihong go in the end?" DeLong's eyes burst into a sharp light, and he said in a deep voice, "That guy ran away with Dulong." "What?" Sengoku exclaimed restlessly. Two troublesome guys come together. Who knows if these two will join forces to cause trouble for them? One has the terrifying strength to compete with Kizaru, and the other is an old generation master from the old times. This made Sengoku a little panicked. If these two people appeared in Marineford hand in hand, Sengoku simply didn't dare to think about it any further. 156 sparkling fruit. Just when Sengoku was worried, a marine soldier came and reported seriously, "Sengoku, it's bad, the ship of the Great Sha pirates has disappeared." "What? No way. Damn, I didn't expect that poisonous dragon to run away. Damn, how dare they kill our Kizaru Admiral, we will avenge this one day." These marine high-ranking officials who had just gathered together talked around Sengoku, and Sengoku looked as if it was just as expected. He had expected his disappearance when the heavy pirates retreated. After a long pause, Sengoku said in a low voice, "Anyway, let's go back to Marineford first." A famous marine general showed a trace of grief in his eyes, stroked his beard and asked, "So, about Kizaru's affairs?" "Don't tell anyone about this matter, and announce to the public that Kizaru just went there for something. The next war is very important. If the news of Kizaru's death spreads to the outside world, it will definitely make the enemy more arrogant." Sengoku's eyes burst into a gleam, and there was no trace of his sadness just now. "Yes, sir, I know. Okay." The marine generals also understood the importance of the matter and nodded. Sengoku sighed deeply, flicked his sleeves and left, and threw down a sentence. "You continue to talk, I want to have a good rest." The marine generals couldn't help but look at each other when they heard this. Advertisement. The so-called strategist Sengoku will also have such a day. At the same time, on the ship of the Daxia pirates, it was still in that room. Char looked calm and at ease, and said to his right-hand man Hugo in a calm tone, "Our goal remains unchanged, it is still the Summit War." Hugo couldn't help but be surprised, and said in disbelief, "We just killed Kizaru. If we go to Marineford now, won't those marines tear us to pieces?" Char snorted coldly and said, "Do you really think Sengoku is so stupid that he would say everywhere that we killed Kizaru?" Hugo frowned and didn't think of the problem for a while, but he suddenly realized it after a while. Indeed, at this critical moment, if there is a news that the Marine Admiral died at the hands of pirates, then the morale of the marine soldiers will drop greatly, and the morale of the upcoming Whitebeard army will be further boosted. Sengoku will never make such a low-level problem. Char rubbed his forehead, his eyes showing greed and joy, and drove Hugo away, saying, "I have something to deal with, you leave first." Hugo said, "Okay," and left the room without hesitation. After Hugo left the room, Char glanced at Kizaru's body not far away and smiled brightly. When Char approached Kizaru, a familiar system ring rang in his mind. Ding DD. System prompt. The system detects that Kizaru, one of the 3 Marine Admirals, has a powerful Haki. Do you want to extract it? Ding DD. System prompt. The system detects that Kizaru, one of the 3 Marine Admirals, has a powerful Haki. Do you want to extract it? Is there any need to ask such a question? Char said silently in his heart without hesitation, okay. At the moment when Char chose to confirm, an unprecedented surge of power poured into his body like a tide. This new power was completely different from the abilities he had received before, and even surpassed them. On that day, the pain was much worse than before, making Char sweat profusely. Even so, Char still gritted his teeth and endured the pain, not letting himself make a painful sound. Not long after, this pain ended, and the brand new terrifying Haki power cheered in Char's body, as if every cell in his body was cheering for the arrival of new power. Char clenched his fists in disbelief, a little bit unable to believe the power filled in his body, which was simply too terrible. Advertisement at this moment, a familiar system ringtone rang in Char's mind. Beep beep. System prompt. Extract the Haki of Kizaru, one of the 3 Marine Admirals, cost 100 million points. Beep beep. System prompt. Extract the Haki of Kizaru, one of the 3 Marine Admirals, cost 10 divisions of labor. Hearing this system message, Char didn't know whether to laugh or cry. When he killed Kizaru before, he got 100 million points, and now it takes 100 million points to extract his Haki. Then how many huge points does Kizaru's sparkling fruit require? Char couldn't help sweating. The next moment, Suan Bing showed an unexpected look. Ding DD. System prompt. The system detects that the target person Kizaru has sparkling fruit, 100 million points required. Do you want to extract? Ding DD. System prompt. The system detects that the target person Kizaru has sparkling fruit, 100 million points required. Do you want to extract? Char endured the pain, extracted a sparkling fruit, and swallowed it. After eating the sparkling fruit in big mouthfuls, Char moved his hands and feet slightly, then forgot to control his strength and kicked out accidentally. A flash of light flashed, and the explosion sounded into the sky, and the whole room was blown into pieces. Char opened his mouth immediately, and his eyes were filled with astonishment. 0. But Char thought about it and realized that this was the ability of the Marine Admiral's fruit, which was also normal. At the same time, on a ship of the Daxia pirates, an old man with a noble look asked a prisoner who was concentrating on controlling the ship. Where did your leader go? The prisoner who was controlling the direction of the ship could not help but look questioning, and turned his astonished eyes to the source of the voice. After seeing the person clearly, he showed an extremely shocked look. You are? The prisoner said with a trembling voice, and his expression was extremely nervous, as if he had seen something incredible. The old man with a noble look adjusted his beard and said slowly, I just want to know, where is that man called Dulong? At this time, Hugo happened to pass by here and saw this scene, and a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Hugo, who was busy commanding when fighting with Marine, had no idea who the old man in front of him was, and subconsciously thought he was causing trouble. The aristocratic old man raised his eyebrows and said, You are not willing to tell me one by one. Do you really want me to find it myself? At this moment, an explosion occurred not far away, and a roar that resounded through the sky was heard. The aristocratic old man sneered, a hint of fighting spirit flashed in his eyes, and he licked his lips excitedly and said, Found it. As soon as the voice fell, the aristocratic old man's eyes burst into a brilliant light, and he rushed to the explosion site impatiently. 157 The lone red is defeat. His speed was unmatched, and his figure disappeared from the sight of the two in an instant. In the rolling dust, Char coughed several times and kept waving away the dust with his hands. It's really a self-inflicted disaster. At this time, the noble-looking old man happened to appear here. He cast his eyes on Char not far away, and the brilliance in his eyes became stronger. He showed a ferocious smile and said, Are you the poisonous dragon? Char frowned and said, Who are you? The old man in front of him gave him a very familiar feeling, and he always felt that he had seen this person somewhere. But after searching for information about this person in his mind for a long time, he still found nothing. The noble-looking old man bowed gracefully and said in a gentle tone, My name is Barala Clydefield. I want to fight with you, how about it? Char said, and his figure flashed, and his figure completely disappeared from the world, as if this person did not exist in this world at all. 25 Known as the Lonely Red, Baloric Clydefield, who was in the same era as Whitebeard and Roger, no longer had the calmness he had before, but his face became more serious than ever before. It was because Char's speed was too fast, so fast that Baloric Clydefield could only accept it. The only person with such speed was the Marine Admiral in yellow clothes who had fought with him not long ago. Apart from him, he had never seen anyone with such a terrifying speed. Just as Baloric Clydefield was thinking this, Char's figure suddenly appeared behind him, and said grimly, Hey, old man, is this all you can do? After hearing this, Baloric Clydefield was startled by the breath behind him and turned his astonished eyes to the source of the voice. It was unknown when Char's figure appeared there, which made Baloric Clydefield unbelievable. At the same time, Baloric Clydefield couldn't help but be filled with questions. When did he run to the back? However, Beloric Clydefield didn't think much about it, but just punched Char with an extremely sharp punch. Advertisement Char squinted his eyes and remained unmoved, allowing the punch to hit him. The next moment, something unexpected happened after the fierce and domineering punch hit Char. Char stood there quietly as if unscathed, unmoved at all. Seeing this scene, Beloric Clydefield could not help but be moved, and could no longer remain calm. He used all his strength in this punch, which could be said to be his full strength attack, but this blow did not cause any harm to the man? How could this be possible? This is not a joke. Beloric Clydefield could not believe what was happening in front of him, and immediately made him doubt his life. Char still squinted his eyes, looking calm and at ease, and said in a flat tone, "Is this the extent of yours? I am so disappointed." He thought this old man was so strong, but it turned out to be a scumbag. In fact, Char was wrong. It was not that this lonely red was too weak, but that he was too strong. Now Char seriously underestimated his own strength. After absorbing Kizaru Haki, his Haki has completely reached a level that no one could have imagined. It should be said that in this new world, there are few people whose Haki can surpass him. Beloric Clydefield gritted his teeth and said, "I don't accept it." As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly activated his own Bat Fruit ability, making his combat ability even stronger. In addition, the specialization of the fruit ability made his own blood flow faster, and the whole person became extremely excited. However, no matter how Beloric Clydefield's combat powers improved, he is still no match for the man named Poison Dragon. Char snorted disdainfully, and the ability of the Flash Fruit was activated again. The next moment he appeared on Beloric Clydefield's head, and kicked Beloric Clydefield fiercely with the speed of light with the momentum of breaking the wind. The miserable Beloric Clydefield may have just reacted and covered his head with both hands, but he only felt his hands sink. This kick seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds, and Beloric Clydefield could not resist it at all. Just a few seconds later, Beloric Clydefield suddenly vomited a large amount of blood with a wow. He was exhausted and could not accept Char's fatal blow. He was killed on the spot. Just as Beloric Clydefield was facing the last moment of his life, a happy system ringtone flashed in Char's mind. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill the lonely red Beloric Clydefield and get 50 million points. Advertisement. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill the lonely red Beloric Clydefield and get 50 million points. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill the lonely red Beloric Clydefield and get 50 million points. Char was shocked by this terrible number and his face was full of surprise. He thought that this lonely red Beloric Clydefield was extraordinary, so he had an extraordinary high number of points, but he never thought that he would have 50 million points. And this is 50 million. Among the masters that Char had met, only Kizaru's points could be higher than his. Like masters like Magellan and the S********* King are not at the same level as 553. This powerful strength and the jaw-dropping points suddenly reminded Char of the origin of this man. He remembered that this Beloric Clydefield character was a character in One Piece 3D. Infinite World. It was designed by the author Eiichiro Oda himself. It was a great pirate in Roger's time. It was a pirate of the same era as Whitebeard and Roger. He still remembered that in the original work of his previous life, Sengoku gave this person a high evaluation, saying that this person alone was on par with Roger and Whitebeard. Later, because he was powerless after the battle, he was detained by Garp to impel down Impel level 6. Later, he escaped from prison during the commotion caused by Blackbeard. This is the original work. However, now Blackbeard didn't go to level 6, and the plot has been changed by him. How did this lonely red escape from Ing? And Char remembered very clearly that he had killed all these people, and he also got a total of 500 million points for this. What is going on? Is there any fish that slipped through the net? Char couldn't help scratching his head and thinking hard. However, after thinking for a long time, he still didn't think of a very important detail that he had overlooked. 158 The Prologue of Summit War. At this moment, a system ringtone flashed in Char's mind. Ding ding ding. System prompt. The lone red Beloric Clydefield has a bat fruit, 10 million points are required. Do you want to extract it? Char was stunned, and a record about the lone red Beloric Clydefield sounded in his mind. He is a Zone Mythical Beast Bat Fruit Vampire form, ability user, who can return to his youth by sucking blood, and even his abilities can be restored to his youthful abilities, which is very powerful. This can explain why Beloric Clydefield's combat power suddenly soared. The points required to extract this bat fruit are also very reliable and worth the price, so Shaw silently said yes in his heart. The next moment, a bat fruit appeared in Char's hand without any sign. Seeing this fruit, Char wanted to eat it for some reason. He saw the scene of Beloric Clydefield's combat power soaring just now very clearly, so the main function of this bat fruit is to restore people to their youth, and the increase in combat power is actually very small. Just when Char was hesitating, a figure came running over angrily. When the person saw that Char was safe and sound, he was relieved. This person was U-887 Guo. When Hugo saw the weird old man running over to Char's side just now, he was immediately scared. He thought that Char was going to suffer an accident this time. Now it seems that this is impossible. After Char stared at Hugo for a while, a bold idea suddenly came to his mind. What if Hugo eats this bat fruit? Now he has sparkling fruit, which is enough. Besides, he thought about it carefully for a long time. In fact, this bat fruit has little effect on himself. The main effect is to restore his youth. Now he has not even entered middle age. Throw the bat fruit in his hand to him and say, "Eat it." Hugo subconsciously caught the bat fruit. After hearing this, he had a strong doubt and said, "What?" Char said expressionlessly, "Eat it. Advertisement." Hugo scratched his head and said, "What kind of fruit is this? You have to let me know what it is." Char rolled his eyes and patiently told Hugo the function of the bat fruit. After listening, Hugo swallowed the bat fruit without hesitation. Char was a little surprised. Why is this kid so obedient? With a gurgle, Hugo asked in confusion, "Why does the devil fruit taste like shit?" Char's facial muscles twitched, and he was immediately in tears. At the same time, in Marineford, the famous summit war began in a grand manner. Whitebeard shouted, "Save Ace!" With this very Haki slogan, the Whitebeard pirates began to attack fiercely. There were many strong people among them, such as the captain of the first team, Phoenix Marco, this Diamond, etc., are masters with a high reputation in later generations. However, the Straw Hats and others who were not supposed to be here, followed Marco and others and killed into the marine formation together. Sengoku stood on the high execution platform. After seeing Luffy, his teeth creaked and he complained to Garp next to him, "Garp, it's your grandson again." Garp picked his nose and hummed a few times without caring at all. Compared to the aggressive Whitebeard, the Marines lineup is also extremely luxurious. In addition to the two Marine Admirals, there are almost all Marine Vice Admirals and several Shichibukai who have signed agreements with the world government. Moria, Mingo, Hawkeye, finally, even the stunning Empress appeared here. At this moment, Whitebeard suddenly launched the shock fruit, and the space where people were suddenly began to vibrate terribly, as if the whole world was about to turn over. The sea roared because of the strong vibration, and Aokiji, who was sitting on the head with Akainu, sighed softly and jumped. Ice Age. The sea was frozen because of Aokiji's big move. Advertisement Whitebeard was not afraid of Aokiji's attack at all, but snorted indifferently. Just when the two sides were fighting to the death, Blackbeard and others came quietly, hiding their figures and waiting for the opportunity to come. Not long after, Char and others also appeared here. At this time, Whitebeard and Akainu had already fought, and the tense atmosphere at the scene had not yet dissipated. Everyone's eyes were filled with fighting spirit, as if they would never retreat until they defeated the other party. Char did not pay attention to the earth-shaking battle between Whitebeard and Akainu, but instead focused his attention on the Straw Hat Luffy who was constantly attacking. In this life, there was no crocodile in the Demon King, and Luffy, who was helped by Jinbei, was still so brave. However, unlike the original work, Straw Hat Luffy still had his companions by his side. When Zoro saw Hawkeye, a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes, and he attacked Hawkeye without hesitation. But the result was also obvious. Hawkeye instantly beat Zoro all over his body. If Sanji had not come out to save the situation, Zoro would have died under Hawkeye's sword. There was no phoenix that Kizaru was holding in the original work, and it was rushing straight to the execution platform. Those Marine Vice Admirals could not stop Marco's attack at all, and were knocked down one after another. As they were about to reach the execution platform, Ace was in front of them. Marco's eyes showed a hint of joy. Just when he thought that the matter would be solved so easily, Garp suddenly appeared in front of him, and then he swung his steel fist with all his strength, hitting Marco's body very accurately. Marco's face suddenly twisted in pain, and the whole person fell from the sky like a cannonball, smashing the ground into a big hole. As the smoke rolled, Marco was a little unbelievable, and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Garp, aren't you Ace's grandfather? Why are you stopping me?" First him Marine Vice Admiral, Garp. Garp clenched his fists tightly, with endless fighting spirit in his eyes. At this moment, countless Marines couldn't help but respect him, and even Sengoku on the side was a little surprised that Garp would make such a sacrifice. Grandpa. Luffy had already rushed to the execution platform since he didn't know when. He used his amazing jumping ability and jumped onto the execution platform while everyone was focusing on Marco. Garp snorted coldly, a flash of pain flashed in his eyes, and gritted his teeth and said, "Luffy, you kid." Ace's pupils on the execution platform dilated instantly. The thing he was most worried about really happened. Luffy came to save him. 159 Rescue Luffy. Why did you come, Luffy? Ace was in pain. Not only Ace had such thoughts, but also Garp. Garp didn't want to be an enemy of his grandson, but he was a Marine now, and Luffy was his enemy. The old man with white hair finally chose to fight with his grandson, and suppressed Luffy with absolute strength, but Luffy stood up and attacked again while falling again and again. Straw Hat, let me meet you. Smoker, who came from Impel Down, happened to see this scene, and without saying much, he immediately rushed over to fight with Straw Hat. Now Straw Hat is far from the strength of 2 years later, and was suppressed and beaten by Smoker on the ground. Be honest, Straw Hat. Smoker, who pressed Straw Hat Luffy to the ground, said angrily. Then Smoker skillfully put a seastone chain on Straw Hat Luffy, so that Luffy had no power to fight back. Luffy's teeth creaked and he said, "What evil?" At this time, Marco flew over to rescue Straw Hat Luffy from Smoker, but Garp blocked his way again and kept throwing iron fists at him like a rainstorm. Although Marco had the ability of the Phoenix Fruit and could quickly recover from his injuries, it was not an instant recovery. Facing the iron balls that Garp kept swinging, he had to be a little afraid. Garp's speed was so fast that Marco was surprised. He thought to himself, is this the strength of a marine hero? It's really extraordinary. At this time, strong men like Marine Vice Admiral kept coming and surrounded Marco. Don't go back to Urko. Phoenix, you stay here today. Humph. Several naval headquarters vice admirals who looked quite strong showed a ferocious look. Marco gently wiped the blood from his mouth with his hand and said with difficulty, this is troublesome. As Marco was surrounded, the sea stone locked tightly. Luffy was in an unprecedented crisis. Moonlight, Moria had a grudge against Luffy. When he saw Luffy in such a crisis, he stopped collecting shadows and ran over impatiently. Moria ran over while shouting, Straw Hat, you will definitely die today, ha 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 ha. Damn, is it Moria? Luffy yelled. Advertisement Sanji, who was fighting with Marine in the distance, reacted quickly after seeing Luffy in crisis and rushed towards Luffy at a high speed. Smoker snorted coldly, holding the special 10-handed stick in his hand and hitting Sanji on the head. Sanji had no choice but to step back a few steps to avoid the blow. Hey, Smoker, get out of here. Sanji was furious, and the sparks on his feet made a crackling sound. At the same time, Zoro also discovered the abnormality here, put down the fight with his lifelong enemy, and rushed to the execution platform. Hawkeye, who saw this scene, did not chase him, but just sighed softly. Smoker's subordinate, Tashigi, who looks like Zoro's childhood friend, stepped forward, and a sharp sound of drawing a sword came out, and a sword energy flew towards Zoro. Zoro's eyes flashed with a chill, 3,000 trouble winds. The sword energy flew towards Tashigi. Tashigi was not a simple character, and easily avoided Zoro's attack. At this time, Moria had already reached the execution platform. Because he was a Shichibukai, he was not intercepted by Marine. Moria looked at Luffy, who was covered with scars, and felt very happy. After he laughed strangely, he laughed grimly. Ah, I didn't expect that you, Straw Hat, would have such a day, ha 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 ha. Straw Hat Luffy's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and his body kept struggling, rolling violently on the ground as if he wanted to break free from the shackles of this annoying sea stone. Go to hell, Straw Hat. Moria's right hand continued to gather the shadow power that once frightened the Straw Hats. This crushing power that was enough to suppress everything in the world was about to be swung at Straw Hat Luffy. Garp, standing on the execution platform, sighed softly, his face full of reluctance. Ace shouted no even more. Zoro and Sanji's faces became more anxious, trying their best to get rid of their opponents and rushed towards Luffy. The next moment, the shadow ball of light that distorted the space rushed towards Luffy. Moria laughed, as if he had seen the future of Straw Hat Luffy being killed and his shadow being taken away by him. At this critical moment, a figure with extremely fast speed rushed over, light speed kick. The figure stayed in the air and swung the light speed kick fiercely at Moria, who was about to attack Luffy. Hawkeye, who was standing not far away, had a gleam of brilliance in his eyes. The next moment, his figure disappeared from the spot, and he swung a powerful slash to block the sudden light speed kick. Moria seemed to sense something, and his hair stood up all over his body, and he turned his astonished eyes to the back. Advertisement. After seeing clearly, Zoro and Sanji could not help but look at each other, and they could see the shock in each other's eyes. Luffy murmured. It's you? Smoker dropped his 10 hands heavily to the ground and said fiercely, I didn't expect you to dare to come here to die. After Sengoku saw the person clearly, a subtle pain flashed in his eyes, and he gritted his teeth and said, Char. The person who came was Char, who had just arrived. Akainu, who was fighting fiercely with Whitebeard, noticed this scene from the corner of his eye, and couldn't help but be moved, and stepped back a few steps with embarrassment. Aokiji, who was fighting with the captains of the Whitebeard pirates in the harbor, frowned and cast his eyes on Char in disbelief. Most Marine soldiers didn't know, even the naval headquarters vice admirals didn't know about Kizaru's death. Only Akainu and Aokiji, who were tall and powerful, knew about it. At this time, Char's 2-9's arrival would undoubtedly make the whole battle more complicated. Whitebeard raised his eyebrows slightly and asked Akainu, Hey, Akainu, isn't that your Kizaru's sparkling fruit? Akainu snorted coldly and said, You don't care. As soon as the voice fell, he hit Whitebeard again. So the two of them fell into a fierce fight again. Not only Whitebeard had this question, all the Marines and pirates who didn't know couldn't help but be moved. Hey, isn't that the fruit ability of Kizaru Admiral? Why is it there? This is weird. What is going on here? What's even more strange is that in such a big war, Kizaru Admiral was absent. Is there some unspeakable secret? 160 Marine is shocked. The Marines who were familiar with Kizaru's sparkling fruit would be surprised to see this scene. After all, Kizaru was a god-like existence to them. Such unscientific things now made them really unbelievable. Coupled with Kizaru's mysterious disappearance, they had a strong question in their hearts, that is, will Kizaru Admiral be in trouble? Although the naval headquarters vice admirals didn't know what happened, they would not be shaken by this incident and stop fighting. A naval headquarters vice admiral, biting a cigar and with a murderous look on his face, waved a big knife and scolded loudly. What are you doing? Stop gossiping. Kizaru Admiral will be fine. Kill him. Doflamingo said with interest and murmured, This is interesting. Tyrant Bear has now completely become a killing machine, a butcher knife of the world government. He only knows to obey the world government and will not be shaken by anything. He only knows to attack the pirates in front of him. Hawkeye put his hand on his chin and groaned with doubt. As for the 857th Empress Shichibukai, who did not want to participate in this kind of war, but did not give up because of the war to defend the country, she did not care at all. She just stood aside quietly. As long as the Whitebeard pirates came over, she would not hesitate to attack. However, she would not take the initiative to attack, so many Whitebeard pirates bypassed her and chose to attack from the other side. Sengoku, standing on the execution platform, had no idea why Char was here, but after considering the identity of Straw Hat Luffy, he immediately ordered, "Kill Luffy too quickly." As the son of a revolutionary named Dragon, who has repeatedly done things against the world government, Sengoku will never tolerate the existence of people like Straw Hat, and must root them out, even if the target is the grandson of his old friend. As soon as the voice fell, several battalions of marine soldiers rushed towards Straw Hat Luffy. Although Moria was not a subordinate of Sengoku and did not need to obey Sengoku's orders, he still obeyed Sengoku's orders at this time and started the attack that was interrupted before. In his heart, he felt that Char's target seemed to be him. Char snorted disdainfully, looking for death. The next moment, Char's figure disappeared in midair and appeared behind Moria a few seconds later. The dazzling light was released from Char's right leg, and the huge energy contained in it made the people who saw this scene dumbfounded. At this time, Moria was paying attention to the front of him. Luffy didn't notice Char suddenly appearing behind him. Don't even think about it. Hawkeye's eyes flashed with coldness, and he instinctively felt that Char was not a good person. After turning into a residual image, he swung the slash at Char with the force of breaking the wind, which was enough to cut off any hard object. Char frowned, faced this sudden slash, and then turned the light speed kick that he had prepared for a long time to Hawkeye. Boom. Light speed kick. Moria was so scared that his soul flew away, and the whole person fell to the ground. Advertisement, new. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill a Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, get 5 million points. The two extremely powerful attacks touched each other, and the residual power generated made everyone couldn't help but move, and their hearts were slightly trembling. A Marine Major seemed to have lost his mind and followed the Marine soldiers to rush towards Char. After doing all this, Char said as if he was not addicted at all. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill a Naval Headquarters Major and get 3 million points. Char's provocation made the Marines completely run away. Char sighed softly, and between his kicks, a powerful light attack with the power of breaking the wind instantly killed them mercilessly. Because Char used 80% of his strength, this attack was more powerful than the one that killed Vice Admiral just now, so these soldiers and the Major did not even have a corpse residue, and completely dissipated into the air. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill 10 Marine soldiers and get 100,000 points. If it weren't for their voices and faces in the photos and the memories hidden deep in their memories, I'm afraid their existence would have been strangled by Char. At this moment, a familiar system bell sounded in Char's mind, CFDJ. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill a Naval Headquarters Major and get 3 million points. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill a Marine soldier and get 10,000 points. With the death of the Marine Vice Admiral, those Marine promoted soldiers were not calm. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill a Naval Headquarters Major and get 3 million points. Garp had the same idea as Sengoku, clenching his fists tightly, with endless coldness in his eyes. The Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral seemed to be unaware of his own death, with a hideous smile on his face. His body fell down with a bang, and a large amount of blood flowed out of his bloody chest and flowed all over the ground. Advertisement. The system ringtones kept ringing in Char's mind. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill a Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, get 5 million points. So weak. Go, kill that poisonous dragon. Hearing this familiar system bell, Char's mouth slightly raised, looking in a good mood. After Sengoku heard this, veins popped up on his forehead. If he hadn't stayed on the execution platform for the sake of the overall situation, he would have taken the initiative to kill Char. Ah, is this the strength of Marines? Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill a Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, get 5 million points. Seeing their old friend die in front of them, how could they hold back their anger? So they lost their minds and rushed towards Char. They had long forgotten Sengoku's anxious call to stop. Char suddenly turned around, and a powerful beam of light burst out from his fingertips, instantly shooting the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Light speed kick. Hawkeye's pupils shrank, and he was about to step forward to cooperate with the Marine when Vice Admiral attacks. A Marine Vice Admiral seemed to recognize Char's appearance, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He rushed over with gritted teeth and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Go to hell, poison dragon." He thought that Char would not be able to dodge this attack, but Char, who had the powerful observation Haki, had already seen through his movements. Actually, damn it, ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill 50 Marine soldiers and get 500,000 points. Kill him, don't let this evil poisonous dragon go. I swear I won't be a human if I don't take revenge for this. 161 Liberation. Ace, Hawkeye couldn't stay calm anymore and fought with Char with all his strength. The next moment, Hawkeye shot up and struck casually. A sharp sound that seemed to tear the air rang out, and the extremely powerful slash passed through the ground and rushed towards Char. Char snorted coldly, thinking that fighting with a peerless master like Hawkeye would only waste time, so he flashed and his figure completely disappeared in front of Hawkeye. A few seconds later, Char appeared directly in front of Moria and struck with lightning speed. The one who made this slash was Hawkeye. When Char was about to say something, the enemy would not let Char rest so easily. Moria gasped in pain, stepped back a few steps with fear, and shouted at the nearby Marine. "What are you doing? Attack Char quickly. Do you want to watch me get killed?" At this time, the Marine soldiers recovered and raised their guns to shoot at Char. "Go to hell, Char. You are the most hateful person. Revenge for my brothers. You will die here today. There is a door to heaven, but you don't go, don't blame us." The Marine soldier roared and pulled the switch of the pistol. As several low gunshots sounded, bullets drew arcs in the air and rushed towards Char. Char snorted disdainfully and attached Armament Haki to his whole body to block all these bullets. "Enemy, Poison Dragon. Confirmed." A mechanical voice came from behind Char, which made Char stunned. Then, an energy shockwave like Char's light-speed kick attacked Char's back. Char's pupils shrank, and he quickly used Sparkling Fruit to leap onto the wall of the encirclement, thus avoiding the fatal blow. After Ace regained his strength after untying the Seastone shackles, he used his burning experience without hesitation. However, Char doesn't care what Sengoku is thinking at this time, and when Sengoku and Garp are careless, he quietly appears behind Ace. He shows a mischievous smile and unleashes Ace's shackles with one foot. Shaw gritted his teeth and dodged the attacks again, the murderous intent in his eyes becoming even stronger. However, Moria's attack was so insignificant in front of Char's light speed kick that it instantly evaporated into the air after being touched by the light speed kick, leaving no trace. Moria's face darkened. Immediately afterwards, the light speed kick penetrated deeply into Moria's bloodless chest. Because this move was so fast, Moria failed to activate the shadow exchange technique and failed to escape the attack accurately. Moria's mouth was bleeding. He pressed his hand on his pierced chest in disbelief. With only his last breath left, he gritted his teeth and said, "Damn it, damn Char, I won't let you go so easily." Before he could finish his words, Moria fell down with a look of regret on his face and died completely. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill one of the Shichibukai, Gecko Moria, and get 7 million points. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill one of the Shichibukai, Gecko Moria, and get 7 million points. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill one of the Shichibukai, Gecko Moria, and get 7 million points. Moria, get 7 million points. After recovering his physical strength, Char flew to the execution platform, ready to repeat the old trick, catch Sengoku, the boss, again and make it easier for himself to get away. He was hit by Char's light speed kick at once, and his whole body flew out horizontally, a chest burst out on his chest, and countless parts scattered on the ground. Advertisement, then try the real light speed kick. Does this Char have the ability to take away other people's abilities? The next moment, when Char appeared again, he was already in midair. He stayed in midair and drank a large amount of physical strength potion in exchange for system points, which instantly restored a lot of physical strength that had disappeared. His legs, which had been overexerted, began to recover to their full strength. Hearing this familiar system ringtone, Char finally breathed a sigh of relief, finally killing Moria. He wiped off his cold sweat, and his sharp eyes seemed to penetrate the attacker, Bear's whole body. Luffy seemed to come alive immediately, smiled brightly at Char, and said, "Thank you, Char." Although Luffy didn't understand why Char blocked him from moving forward and impelled down, he thought about it afterwards and felt that Char would not harm him, so Luffy has always had a good impression of Char. He used the power of Buddha without hesitation, and his whole body turned into a huge Buddha statue. Without saying much, he used a shockwave to Char. The fighting power of the bear, which had completely become a killing machine, was not at all that of the rational bear before. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Afterwards, Char extracted Moria's shadow fruit and untied the shackles on Luffy with one kick. Char's facial muscles twitched. Coming again? Sengoku's pupils shrank. It was indeed the ability of Sparkling Fruit. How did this Char do it? He could absorb Magellan's poison fruit and Kizaru's fruit for his own use. What kind of ability is this? Advertisement Hawkeye and Tyrant Bear's attacks were coming, and a hint of coldness flashed in Char's eyes. His figure disappeared again, making the attacks of the two strong men fall into the air. The next moment, he flashed from the spot, appeared behind Moria again without getting tired, and kicked at the speed of light. Sengoku and Garp reacted and their faces changed drastically. Even though he was so seriously injured, Tyrant Bear still stood up unyieldingly. For him, no matter how big the wound was, he could not feel any pain at all, and he only knew that he had to kill the pirate Char in front of him. Super light speed kick. Char roared, and swung the terrible light speed kick at Tyrant Bear. As several mechanical sounds rang out, several more compressed and amazing energy light attacks rushed towards Char, and the terrible energy could be felt even on the skin. If he hadn't reacted quickly just now, he would have been seriously injured by this blow. Sengoku snorted coldly, and in just a moment, he understood what Char wanted to do. Just when Char thought the attack was over, the hairs on his body stood up in vain, and an extremely powerful slash came whistling towards him. Moriya's teeth squeaked. This time he was prepared, and the shadow horn gun that had been prepared long ago whistled towards Char. The corners of Char's mouth slightly raised. He had expected it long ago. Sengoku will attack him, and after taking a deep breath, his figure disappears in midair again, and the shockwave sent by Sengoku hits nothing. Char's left leg concentrated all its energy, and the terrifying blow directly pierced Moriya's body. If Moriya hadn't reacted for a while, I'm afraid he would not be injured in the shoulder, but in the chest. 162 Char's zombie soldier's ace, surrounded by blazing flames, licked his lips excitedly, and the color in his eyes was exactly the same as the flames he showed. He said, "Hey, old man, come and fight me, ah." First, his subordinates were killed right in front of him, and then Ace was rescued. How could he bear it? A merciless full-strength attack once again hit Char. Char, who had long anticipated Sengoku's actions, had a flash of coldness in his eyes, and his body suddenly became blurred, making the shockwave hit him again. Sengoku thought that Char was just hiding in a corner here and was about to attack him, but he had completely figured it out. At this time, Char's figure kept flashing and left the execution platform at an astonishing speed. Because there were too many masters on the execution platform, people like Haki and Tyrant Bear were not simple characters. Char was not afraid of them if they were one-on-one, but two people attacked him together, which made Char a little afraid. It was not Char's style to be in crisis. He chose to plunder the lives of the Marine soldiers on the edge of the battlefield with great caution. A Marine major who was concentrating on commanding the battle did not notice Char, who suddenly appeared behind him. When Char gathered the photons on his right leg and was about to swing the lightspeed yang, a Marine soldier spotted him and pointed at him excitedly, saying, "Major, look behind you." The Marine major finally came to his senses and turned his astonished gaze to his back, but it was too late. The next moment, the extremely powerful lightspeed kick instantly blasted the Marine major into pieces, and even killed the Marine who reported the news. At this moment, a familiar system bell rang in Char's mind. The system bell kept ringing in Char's mind. Ding dee dee dee. System prompt. Kill a naval headquarters major and get 3 million points. Ding dee dee dee. System prompt. Kill a naval headquarters major and get 3 million points. Ding dee dee dee. System prompt. Kill a naval headquarters major and get 3 million points. The Marine soldiers around him noticed Char and turned their attention to him. Fire, fire. Don't let this poisonous dragon leave safely. Make sure he dies here. The Marines shouted, but they were still greeted by the usual light speed kicks. Boom. Advertisement with an explosion. Countless Marines died under the feet of the absolutely powerful Shinor. Ding dee dee dee. System prompt. Kill a Marine soldier and get 10,000 points. Ding dee dee dee. System prompt. Kill 10 Marine soldiers and get 100,000 points. Ding dee dee dee. System prompt. Kill 50 Marine soldiers and get 500,000 points. After killing these Marines, Char suddenly had an idea. If he swallowed the shadow fruit and turned these Marines into zombie soldiers who would only obey him, wouldn't he get a powerful boost? Thinking of this, Char couldn't help but be moved. And another important point of the shadow fruit is that it can inject a large amount of shadows into its body, making its own power explode. In the original One Piece, Moriya used a similar method of injecting shadows into his body, beating Luffy, who had not yet grown up, with scars all over his body. After thinking quietly for a while, Char decided to eat the shadow fruit and make it his second main fruit ability. After eating the shadow fruit that he had finally obtained, Char decided to try it on a few Marine soldiers. He looked around and happened to find a few injured Marine soldiers. A sharp light flashed in his eyes and he decided to try it on these people. The next moment, Char used the ability of sparkling fruit to quietly appear behind these Marine soldiers, holding a weapon similar to scissors in his hand, and suddenly cut off their shadows, so the shadow-like substance rushed into Char's body. As the shadow disappeared, these Marine soldiers suddenly felt that they had lost the most precious thing. Advertisement. The next moment, because the Marine soldiers whose shadows were taken away died instantly because they were under the sun, I am afraid that these Marine soldiers don't even know how they died. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill 1 Marine soldier and get 10,000 points. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill 2 Marine soldiers, get Hijikata points. Ding 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 ding. System prompt. Kill 3 Marine soldiers and get 30,000 points. At this time, the familiar system ringtone rang in Char's mind. However, Char didn't care about this score at all, and just stuffed the shadows into the bodies of these soldiers in a somewhat unfamiliar way. He wanted to turn these soldiers into obedient zombie soldiers. After the shadows controlled by Char entered the bodies of their original owners, the bodies of these Marine soldiers who had died for a long time suddenly changed dramatically, turning into zombie soldiers with empty eyes. Maybe it was because Char was not familiar enough, or maybe the operation failed somewhere, causing all 10 zombie soldiers to lose their minds and become pure murderers. This made Char a little disappointed. After all, in the original work of One Piece, Sindori, the iconic zombie who would not lose her original memory, has always been unforgettable to him. In his previous life,
Char had thought that if he could obtain the shadow fruit one day, it would be great if he could turn powerful masters into his subordinates. But now it seems that if he really wants to achieve that step, Char will need to waste a lot of time to achieve it.
But this fruit has too many flaws, and Char can't spend too much time on this non-mainstream fruit ability. However, this shadow fruit can play a big role in this summit war. It's really huge. 163 Operation Blackbeard. In this earth-shaking war, the Marines are not the only ones who died, but also the pirates. If Char could turn all these people into his own zombie soldiers. Thinking of this, Char couldn't help but smile mischievously. Just as Char was secretly carrying out his plan, a huge change occurred in the central battlefield. The exhausted Whitebeard seized Akainu's flaw and immediately hit Akainu hard, knocking Akainu to the ground. But when everyone thought that Whitebeard had won the victory, they still thought too simply. Dad, how are you doing recently? Blackbeard finally appeared, with his group of men. When Whitebeard saw Blackbeard appear, veins on his forehead bulged, and there was a hint of anger in his expressionless expression. A hint of hatred flashed in his eyes, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Tiki." At this time, the people fighting fiercely on the execution platform couldn't help but be moved when they saw this scene. Marco, Ace, Luffy and others stopped fighting and looked here. Sengoku, standing on the high execution platform, frowned, with a half-smile on his face. Shichibukai Ming smiled grimly and murmured, "That guy is here as expected." Hidden masters like Haki and Empress were not shocked by this scene. Garp sighed deeply and said in a low voice, "What does that guy want to do by appearing at this time?" At this moment, Blackbeard, who was the focus of everyone's attention, suddenly attacked Whitebeard. After Blackbeard laughed strangely, he put his hand full of dark energy fluctuations on the ground. The powerful dark energy quickly unfolded with this as the boundary, and a black mud-like substance appeared under the feet of both Blackbeard and Whitebeard. Whitebeard frowned and wanted to move his feet, but the black mud-like substance tightly bound him, making him unable to move forward half a step. Dad, you should give up the idea of resistance, ha 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 ha. Advertisement. Blackbeard burst into laughter, with a mocking tone. Whitebeard snorted disdainfully and said in a deep voice, "Things like this." The next moment, Whitebeard took a breath and activated the shock fruit ability, pouring the powerful vibration power into his right hand, raised it high, and was about to launch a swift attack on Blackbeard. Blackbeard showed an unexpected look, grinned and said, "Dark water." A substance similar to black smoke emerged from Blackbeard's hands, and then he threw it at Whitebeard, offsetting the vibration light on Whitebeard's hand. Sengoku, who was standing on the execution platform, seemed to know something, and was furious and said, "Blackbeard, why did you come now? Don't you want the title of Shichibukai?" Marco gritted his teeth and said, "What do you want to do with Dad's body?" Although Whitebeard was caught off guard by Blackbeard's sudden attack after a brief fight at the beginning, this scene was seen by captains such as Marco, who became extremely anxious and wished they could fly over to rescue Whitebeard. The Whitebeard pirates knew this feeling very well, and their faces changed at the same time. But at this moment, Whitebeard's amazing combat experience was fully reflected at this moment, when Blackbeard accidentally revealed a flaw. Lafitte smiled bitterly. Understood. They knew that if Whitebeard had not been so seriously injured, he would have been able to beat the traitor Blackbeard long ago, and would not have fallen into this state. Shichibukai is just a shield I use to cover my identity. The veteran warrior who had experienced hundreds of battles had a gleam of brilliance in his eyes. He did not use the power of the fruit, but relied on physical skills to seize this opportunity and hit Blackbeard to the ground with a series of blows. Blackbeard laughed strangely, and he finally revealed his real goal in front of the world. Blackbeard's mouth cracked fiercely, a cold light flashed in his eyes, and his sharp eyes seemed to penetrate Whitebeard's whole body. Seize Whitebeard's shock fruit. As soon as the voice fell, Blackbeard punched the air hard, and at this moment the air seemed to crack, and everyone suddenly felt that they were in a chaotic space. However, Whitebeard's feat before the death surprised everyone slightly, showing disbelief. Blackbeard stared at Whitebeard with great resentment, then stepped back a few steps and ordered, "What are you waiting for here? Come with me and knock down Whitebeard." Advertisement. The green smoke on Marco's body became more lush, with raging anger in his eyes, and he shouted at the top of his lungs, "Blackbeard, I'm going to kill you." If the captains around him hadn't stopped him, Marco would have rushed over and fought Blackbeard desperately at this moment. After a while, the beard seemed to have completed some mysterious ceremony. Hearing the title of Shichibukai, Blackbeard and his crew seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world, and they couldn't help laughing and laughed, making Sengoku's face turn pale. "Now I want to show you my real goal 2.2. Then let the world witness my true goal in What do you care, Stinky Daddy?" Baggins laughed. Van Ott said nothing but silently raised his sniper rifle, and Poison Q still looked listless. Lafitte smiled, bowed gracefully, and said with a smile, "You will know later." Whitebeard looked down at him indifferently, his expression was a little cold, and he said with a deep meaning, "Tiki, your biggest weakness is arrogance and self-righteousness." He did so many things, just because of today. Whitebeard frowned even more tightly, and seeing Whitebeard showing this expression, Blackbeard felt very happy for some reason. Whitebeard waved his long sword to fight. After saying this sentence that seemed to be the truth, Whitebeard stood there like a statue without moving. Blackbeard took a deep breath, his eyes seemed to pop out, and exclaimed. Whitebeard died standing up. After Blackbeard finished these two shocking words, he slowly approached Whitebeard's body with majestic steps, and at the same time, the capable Kadri Lafitte covered Whitebeard's body with a black cloth. It hurts, Daddy. Blackbeard begged for mercy with all his might. After Blackbeard spoke grimly, he kicked the ground hard and rushed straight to Whitebeard. Dad, you will die here today. Although Whitebeard had great strength, he was seriously injured and was no match for Blackbeard's group, and finally died unwillingly. The treasure exists. 164 Duel with Akainu. If they remembered correctly, this was their father's shock fruit ability. Why did it appear here? What the hell is going on? Why does that be ********** D Blackbeard have my father's ability? What did he do to my father? Damn, this damn traitor, I really looked down on him. I didn't expect this to be Blackbeard's real goal. Despicable Blackbeard. The captains of the Whitebeard pirates roared, their eyes red, staring at Blackbeard with fiery eyes. If Blackbeard had been kicked by the captains like this at ordinary times, he would have been scared to death. But at this moment, Blackbeard has obtained this terrible shock fruit invincible Paramecia fruit, so what is he afraid of the captains? At the same time, the reaction of the Marines was completely different from that of the captains of the Whitebeard pirates. A Marine general held his head and cried, Are we going to experience that terrible shock again? This is really terrible. I didn't expect it, I really didn't expect it. When will this power be lost? The Marines who were hit by Whitebeard with shock fruit not long ago and looked painful never wanted to experience such a terrible experience again. Seeing this scene, Sengoku's eyes flashed with an inexplicable light, and he clenched his fists tightly, and his whole body trembled violently. Garp snorted disdainfully. Doflamingo held his chin and showed an interested look, muttering, Blackbeard, this person really can't be underestimated. At the same time, on the other side of the battlefield. Perhaps because of Char, the original scene of Akainu killing Ace did not happen, but it turned into a shocking scene of Ace and Akainu confronting each other with the Fire Fist. Because of the fruit's mutual restraint, Akainu and Ace fought to the death, evenly matched. However, Ace was still a few points behind and was constantly beaten back. Akainu's eyes seemed to be filled with endless anger. He pressed Ace again and said in a very low voice, Fire Fist Ace, you'd better die obediently. Ace snorted lightly and said angrily while protecting Luffy, What if I say no? Then die. Akainu's body was like fire, and he punched Ace with a powerful punch.
Ace quickly put his hands on his face. Although he blocked the blow, he felt the huge impact force flowing through his body, and his body could not help but be shaken back a few steps. Advertisement. Luffy, who was already covered with wounds behind him, took a breath of cold air, his eyes were filled with a dazzling light called enlightenment, and he said in a flat tone, Ace, let me do it. No, you step back. Fire Fist Ace said firmly. Akainu's eyes flashed with a sharp light, and his tone was cold. What a brotherly love, but, Ace, how long can you protect the straw hat? As soon as he finished speaking, he launched another powerful attack at Ace.
Luffy exclaimed anxiously, Ace, get out of the way. At this moment, a flash of light flashed in their field of vision. A swift figure approached Akainu at a speed that could not be seen by the naked eye, and then kicked Akainu's back accurately with a light speed kick, instantly kicking the famous Marine general away.
When Ace Luffy saw the person clearly, they couldn't help but stare in amazement. Akainu roughly wiped the blood on his mouth with his arm, and couldn't help but take a deep breath of cold air in pain, and said with fear in his eyes, Poison Dragon, I didn't expect that I didn't go to find you, but you came to my door by yourself.
The person who came was Char. Facing Akainu's provocation, Char smiled without caring, and said in a low voice, The power of 10 people. 10 shadows immediately rushed into Char's feet, making the power of his legs even more powerful and terrifying. Light speed kick. When facing a strong man like Akainu, Char would not show any mercy. The light speed kick enhanced by the shadow fruit rushed towards Akainu with a harsh sound of tearing the air. Akainu's face flushed and he shouted at the top of his lungs, Don't underestimate me. Red molten lava quickly gushed out of his body, and it seemed that the temperature was rising as a result.
These steaming molten lava with amazing temperature turned into a molten lava shield, which blocked Char's move with some difficulty. At the same time, Akainu felt the amazing impact rushing towards his body, and was knocked back a few steps, with a flash of disbelief in his eyes. Advertisement. Char saw that his move was blocked by Akainu, but he was not surprised. After all, a strong master like Akainu, who was at the same level as Kizaru, could not be defeated with just 1 or 2 moves.
Now Char had no intention to continue fighting with Akainu. He turned his head and said to Ace and Luffy behind him, You should leave here quickly. Whitebeard is dead. The Whitebeard pirates have already started to retreat. Ace and Luffy were surprised when they heard this, and their eyes widened in surprise. Akainu couldn't help but be moved when he heard this. It was normal that they didn't know Whitebeard's death, because they were far away from the place where Whitebeard died. It was forgivable that they didn't know the news of Whitebeard's death in the first place.
Whitebeard's adopted son Ace shouted hoarsely and spitted, You are talking nonsense, how strong is Dad, how could he die here? Char sighed softly. He could understand Ace's mood at this time. After all, Whitebeard had an irreplaceable position for Ace. This is true, Char said. Ace clenched his fists tightly, and his body began to tremble violently. Luffy, who was standing by, didn't know how to persuade Ace. Akainu's body was still oozing with molten lava at an astonishing temperature, and there was endless anger in his eyes. He said in a low voice, "No matter what Whitebeard does, you will die here, Zhao's Zhao." In Akainu's opinion, what Char said was very likely true, and their main target Whitebeard would really die here. But Ace and Luffy in front of him must die here. Because their identities are too critical. One is the son of Roger, the Pirate King, and the key to the war. The other is the son of the Revolutionary Dragon. Although the latter is not as important as the former, he has also been included in Akainu's must-kill list. Char snorted lightly, and a cold look flashed in his eyes. Facing Akainu, who pursues absolute justice, he has thought of a way. Char said slowly, "What if I tell you that Sengoku is dead?" This sentence was like a sharp sword, piercing Akainu's heart, causing Akainu's face to change. Char's words really had an extremely powerful killing power, which made Akainu waver in an instant, and a hint of danger appeared in his eyes. 165 kill Akainu. However, Akainu, who was strong in his heart, would not fall for Char's obvious trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain. He raised his eyebrows and thought carefully, then he said angrily, "Don't lie to me."
As soon as he finished speaking, Akainu's figure was as violent as lightning, and his whole body was covered with terrible molten lava, and he rushed towards Char again. Char snorted coldly, and he decided to fight Akainu head-on. Are you kidding? He who has the unimaginably powerful Haki, will he be afraid of Akainu? Kizaru is so strong, so what? In the end, he still died in his hands. The two powerful forces touched each other, and the sparks of battle continued to burst out. The fierce battle made Ace and Luffy unbelievable. The strength of the two of them was far from the terrifying strength of Akainu and Char. Ace was also infinitely close to the strength of Admiral like the three generals, so they couldn't help but sigh when they saw the battle in front of them. The battle was very fierce, and Char and Akainu fought to the death. But what Ace and Luffy didn't expect was that Char actually had the upper hand in this battle, beating the long-famous Akainu back and bleeding from the corners of his mouth. They didn't know that Char had a Haki system, and they didn't think that Char could devour other people's Haki and turn it into his own energy. They didn't even think about having two fruit abilities. Char himself has a strong Haki, plus he got a considerable amount of Haki and his nearly invincible fruit from Kizaru, who he killed by sneak attack not long ago. This strength is also the top strength in the New World. Don't say Ace and Luffy are shocked. Even Akainu himself can't help but be shocked by the terrifying strength shown by Char. Akainu thought that this Char's strength was just very good, but he didn't expect that his strength was far beyond him. When Sengoku told him that it was this poisonous dragon that killed Kizaru, he didn't believe it at that time, thinking that Sengoku was hiding the truth of Kizaru's death. It turns out that Sengoku was not lying. Kizaru might really be killed by Sono.
Char's physical strength seemed endless, while Akainu was already exhausted, and his whole body was completely supported by consciousness.
Boom! With a roar, Akainu had forgotten how many times he was blown away. But he would never surrender to the pirates, never. Akainu bit his teeth and lips tightly to wake up his originally confused brain. With an unprecedented fighting spirit in his eyes, he quickly adjusted his posture in the air and launched a swift and terrifying lava attack on Char in midair. Char snorted lightly, and his vicious eyes saw Akainu is now physically exhausted, so this time he decided to go all out and show all his trump cards here. "Thousand shadows!" Advertisement, Char shouted, and at this moment, a steady stream of shadows poured into his body at a speed that could not be seen by the naked eye, making his ability stronger than ever before, and all the cells in his body seemed to cheer. This is also the reason why Char had been slaughtering soldiers in the edge battlefield area before, and did not go to the central battlefield to hunt down 10 particularly valuable ability users. Facing a peerless master like Akainu, you must go all out. Pour all your energy into this attack. With Char's roar, his speed increased in vain, and his figure disappeared in an instant. The next moment, he appeared behind Akainu. Akainu didn't react at all, and there was still disbelief on his face, as if he couldn't believe that Char could be so fast. Go to hell. Char's eyes were as dark as the color of his shadow, and a dark ghost-like shadow was attached to his right leg. He kicked through Akainu's body. A bloody chest appeared on Akainu's chest, and the whole person fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string. Ace and Luffy couldn't believe this scene. They were all shocked and wide-eyed. It only took a few seconds for this scene to happen. They didn't react at all, and Akainu died in front of them. At this moment, a familiar system ringtone appeared in Char's mind. Ding ding ding. System prompt. Kill Akainu, one of the Marine Admirals, and get a division of labor. Ding ding ding. System prompt. Kill Akainu, one of the Marine Admirals, and get 100 million points. Ding ding ding. System prompt. Kill Akainu, one of the Marine Admirals, and get 100 million points. Hearing the continuous system ringing, Char couldn't help but smile brightly. He finally killed this behemoth. He really didn't expect that he could still kill Akainu. Please give me flowers, advertisement. However, before the joy filled his heart, a strange state suddenly appeared in Char's body. The fatigue he had never felt before hit his brain like a tide, almost made Char open his eyes. For some reason, his consciousness began to become chaotic, and a fatigue he had never felt before was revealed all over his body. Char held his forehead with a painful look on his face, and a lot of sweat dripped from his face. What exactly is going on with this strange fatigue? Soon he thought of the reason. All this should be caused by the side effects of the shadow fruit. What he should have thought of is that in the original One Piece, Moria used this move to defeat Luffy. Although he gained powerful abilities, he lost his mind and went berserk. Later, there were obvious side effects. However, the symptoms he and Moria experienced at that time were completely different. After using this move, Char did not lose his mind like Moria. What happened? His current condition is probably worse than Moria's at that time. Char took a deep breath and looked at his hands. He could clearly feel that the power in his body was disappearing little by little. The disappearing power was only brought by the shadow fruit. The problem was that the powerful Haki he had finally obtained was also disappearing for some reason. Was he going to return to the pre-liberation era and become a useless ordinary child? Luffy and Ace looked at each other. They didn't know Char's current condition. They just thought Char was very tired. So Luffy asked, "Char, are you okay?" Luffy's words interrupted Char's thinking and brought his thoughts back to the present. Char shook his head and said, "You guys go first, I have something to do. See you in New World later." After saying this, Char left here with Akainu's body in his arms. Next, Char had to get the Haki and the molten fruit left by Akainu from his body, but he couldn't let Luffy and Ace see that he had such a magical 10 scenes. Char flashed and came to the bay, where several marine warships were parked, but the people on them were a group of obedient zombie soldiers, not those majestic marine soldiers. 166 join up. Earlier, Char casually controlled a large group of newly controlled zombie soldiers to rush to the bay to grab a few marine warships, making a universal plan for escape in the future. As for the marine soldiers originally on the warships, they were naturally killed by this group of brave zombie soldiers. After Char casually boarded a marine warship, he didn't say anything. First, he was not busy absorbing the Haki left on Akainu's body, but frantically exchanging more physical potions to restore his physical strength. Ding D. System prompt. Are you sure you want to spend 10 million points to buy super physical potion? This super physical potion is a service opened not long ago because his points reached 600 million. It turned out that Char decided to go to the center of the battlefield alone to challenge the heroes, leaving his crew here to fight with the marine to hone their skills. Hugo stepped forward and asked, "Then, leader, what should we do next?" After drinking 10 bottles of super physical potion in one go, Haki's power loss slowly stopped, and Char was relieved. "I have never seen such a thing before. I just want to ask if it is still a human being. It is too scary." At this moment, the phone in Char's arms suddenly rang, and his eyes were stained with ecstasy. At this critical moment, Char could not bear to feel distressed and exchanged 10 bottles of super physical potion in one go. Is it the leader? Out of trust in Char, everyone felt a little relieved. Ding DD. System prompt. Spend 10 million points to successfully purchase super physical potion. Advertisement. Hugo was covered in wounds, and his right hand was hanging vertically like a kite with a broken string. Every member of his crew was injured, including Hugo. However, what Char didn't know was that because of his actions on the execution platform, coupled with the hard work of his crew members and marine soldiers, most of the crew members of the Whitebeard pirates had a good impression of him, and some people threatened to invite them to drink together if they met them again, but Char didn't know this. Hugo smiled bitterly and told him the original experience of the incident. There was a hint of helplessness in his tone, which made Char frown. At this point, Hugo paused and said in a very frightened tone, "Later, we met a group of people called pacifists, who defeated us in an instant, and we really suffered heavy losses. Fortunately, I reacted quickly and evacuated there immediately, otherwise I'm afraid you will never see us again." But Char forgot that in the original One Piece, the group of nearly invincible pacifists who appeared outside the bay were almost wiped out by their negligence, which made Char feel very sorry. What Char didn't expect was that these crew members would look at him with respect from time to time. Ding DD. System prompt. Spend 10 million points to successfully purchase super physical potion. Char drank the super physical potion frantically. The super physical potion that moisturized his throat like spring water slid through his throat and entered his stomach and intestines and began to slowly restore the large amount of physical strength he had just lost. For a moment, the loyalty of these crew members to him soared, and everyone couldn't help but feel proud. The owner of this voice was none other than Hugo, Char's confidant. Ding DD. System prompt. Spend 10 million points to successfully purchase super physical potion. Advertisement. A hint of coldness flashed in Char's eyes, and he said in a cold tone, "Where are you? I'll pick you up." Hugo said a place, and Char took out a map of Marineford from his arms, which he didn't know where it came from, and began to lead this group of people to the target place to meet up with Hugo and others according to the information given by Hugo. Soon after, Char successfully met up with Hugo. When Char saw that the originally high-spirited Great Shaw pirates had become so lifeless, he couldn't help but sigh. If he were there, he would definitely not let such a thing happen again. Although he used the shadow fruit to obtain a large number of zombie soldiers, many crew members died unexpectedly, which made Char speechless.
The system bell rang 10 times in total, and the correct number of super physical potions were neatly arranged in front of him. The liquid in the 25th surface of the physical potion seemed to be surging, which just proved the extraordinary nature of this super physical potion.
I admire you, I admire you. However, what Char did not expect was that because of the hard work of their great Shaw pirates, they would actually gain the friendship of the Whitebeard pirates. When their crews were fighting with the Marine, the crews of the Whitebeard pirates took the initiative to help them evacuate the area, which was indeed something Char did not expect. What Char didn't know was that his heroic performance on the execution platform had been told to his crew members by every member of the Whitebeard pirates, which made the crew members of the Great Shaw pirates excited. All of them were excited because they had such a powerful boss. At this time, Hugo glanced around, as if he had seen something terrible, his face turned pale, and he pointed at the group of lifeless zombie soldiers with some excitement, and said in a trembling voice, "What is this?" It's no wonder that Hugo was so panicked. After all, this kind of zombie soldier is really shocking to some ordinary people. Anyone who sees such a moment beyond common sense will be surprised. His other crew members saw this scene and showed the same surprise as Hugo. What on earth is this? It's so scary. Sure enough, it's not. Is it the great leader? After seeing Hugo like this, Char sighed again and said in a low voice, "What happened?" Now Char is very depressed. Everyone shouted in surprise, with a hint of fear in their eyes. Seeing this scene, Char showed an unexpected look. He had expected the strange looks of the people, so he told them the prepared words to calm the restless hearts of the people. After Char picked up the Den Den Mushi and dialed skillfully, a familiar voice immediately rang out. Char hummed, and after getting a response, Hugo began to report. "Leader, we did successfully defeat many Marines according to your orders at the beginning and honed ourselves, but what we didn't expect was money, wealth, these things are nothing in front of Haki." From the beginning to the end, Char knew very well that in this world of One Piece, strength is everything, and without strength, there is nothing. 167 The war is over. After holding his chin and thinking for a long time, Char said in a low voice, "Let's retreat and leave Marineford." Everyone nodded, not quite understanding. The news of Whitebeard's death had already reached their ears from the central battlefield, so they could understand why Char would give such an order. So the Great Shaw pirates began to return to the nameless island they operated in a cheering mood. At the same time, because of the intervention of Red Hair, the famous Summit War ended. Different from the original plot, Fire Fist Ace survived miraculously, Straw Hat Luffy did not separate from his companions, and Blackbeard did not recruit the prisoners in the original book as his companions because of Char, which weakened his power. However, what Char did not expect was that Red Hair, one of the Four Emperors, and Straw Hat Luffy met after a long time, and the plot began to change completely. Under the persuasion of Red Hair, the Straw Hat Pirates decided to practice for 2 years each and then meet in the Sabaody group. Among them, Luffy, the captain, learned Haki from Red Hair himself. Sanji also learned Haki from Luffy and Red Hair, and Usopp did not want to stay with his father for various reasons, so he went everywhere to hone himself. Zoro, one of the top 3 fighters of the Straw Hat Pirates, still followed his old path and worshipped Hawkeye as his teacher. In this way, the Straw Hat Pirates began to practice on their own. Then, New World caused an uproar because of something, and even the Four Emperors level figures were moved when they saw the news. Pirate Poison Dragon Char killed Marine Admiral and Kizaru, and the reward was increased to 1 billion. As soon as this incident came out, it caused a lot of discussion. Many people dared to believe that this poison dragon would be so powerful that it would kill masters like Akainu and Kizaru. Some people thought that this news was reliable, and speculated that this Char might replace Whitebeard's Four Emperors status. However, more people are still worried that Marine will lose control of the world and be unable to do it. Advertisement. Meanwhile, in Marijoy, the Celestial Dragon's heartland. A muscular man said to Sengoku with a serious look, "You really don't want to be the Marine commander, right?" The man in front of him was the world government commander Kong. Doflamingo chuckled and said, "That Aokiji is very steady in doing things, not like that Akainu at all, so for a long time, Marine will not take any action to crack down, you can rest assured." For a moment, New World was steaming. A thoughtful look appeared on Sora's face. After a long silence, he nodded heavily, as if admitting something. Not to mention the unbelievable exclamations of the ordinary crew members of the Daxia Pirates, even the captains of the Daxia Pirates could not help but be moved. Lafitte was a little concerned about the captain's expression and said, "Captain." Blackbeard's mouth corners slightly raised, I don't know what he was thinking. Subsequently, the arms trade between the dark forces intensified. Hee, delicious, delicious. The ant who didn't listen carefully to the report of her subordinates was eating cakes crazily, and there was cake on her lips. Doflamingo snorted disdainfully, cracked his mouth fiercely, and said nothing. I feel like I can't see the leader's strength clearly anymore. At the same time, Sora snorted and said in a low voice, "Does that mean that only Aokiji can be the commander of Marine?" A man who looked like a cadre asked softly, advertisement. At the same time, Cake Island. Sengoku nodded and said, "My original wish was for him." Blackbeard had just destroyed a Marine warship at sea. After seeing this report, his previous smile disappeared without a trace, and his face became a little solemn. Soon, the news that Aokiji took over as the commander of Marine spread all over New World, along with the world conscription issued by Aokiji as soon as he took office. At the same time, so neither of them spoke, and the whole room fell into a dead silence. At the same time, in the Red Hair base, after an unknown period of time, Kong crossed his arms and said, "Then who do you think can be the next Marine Admiral, Garp?" Sengoku smiled bitterly and said, "Garp doesn't even want to be a Marine Admiral, let alone a Marshal." Four Emperors Kaido threw the wine glass on the ground in a rage, smashing it into pieces in an instant, with a flash of anger in his eyes, saying, "Marine, Marine, a bunch of trash." Kong pondered for a while, a flash of pain flashed in his eyes, and he lowered his voice helplessly. "Is there really no way?"
Luffy clenched his fists tightly, his sharp eyes seemed to penetrate the head portrait of Char printed on the newspaper, and said, "Char, I will definitely beat you." With the death of Whitebeard and the severe damage to the combat power of Marine, the Grand Line began to become more chaotic, and the frequency of pirates appeared more frequently. Those people who thought that after the death of Whitebeard, they could be stable, unexpectedly found that things did not develop in their favor, but became worse. A pirate with a fierce light in his eyes fired a gun to sound the alarm, licked his lips excitedly, and said. Whitebeard finally said that the big treasure does exist. "Brothers, let's go together and fight for those treasures." Yes, 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 yes. He. I didn't believe it before, but now I firmly believe it. The treasure left by the Pirate King. After that, the news of Kaishin's arrogant change and the increase in Genya's bounty soon spread to the Daxia pirates. FK, look, the boss's bounty has become 1 billion, my god. Zhao Hao, it's unimaginable, this is 1 billion, it can be compared with those 3 generals and 3 disasters. Ha 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 ha, I didn't make a mistake. I heard that it's not called Poison Dragon now, but Flash Dragon. I admire the leader more and more, how can you be so arrogant? It's really the leader, he even killed Akainu and Kizaru, my god, they are all Marine Admirals. How strong is the leader? Sengoku shook his head and said, there must be someone responsible for this matter. There is no other candidate except me. Sengoku did not answer him, but just sighed softly, with an indescribable sadness on his face. Dressrosa, master, should we restrain our arms business? The crew members of the Daxia pirates who returned to the island did not exclaim at the personnel changes in Marine, but kept exclaiming at the fact that their boss became a pirate with a billion bounty. 168 Devour Akainu. Although Hugo was mentally prepared, he couldn't help but be shocked after receiving the news.
Nar, the captain of the second team, was the first to get to know Char, but he couldn't help but be moved at this time, and a look of disbelief flashed in his eyes. He didn't expect that the pirate who was just a hitchhiker would become such a powerful pirate now. He really didn't expect it. Moreover, Char brought powerful zombie soldiers with him this time, and at this time, Char didn't have much time to care about these things, but made all preparations, ready to absorb the Haki on Akainu's body and extract the molten fruit on his body with anticipation. He couldn't help rubbing his hands, and there was excitement in his eyes. When Char's hand touched Akainu's body, the familiar system ringtone sounded in his mind. Ding ding ding. System prompt. Touch target Akainu has lava fruit. Do you want to spend 100 million points to extract it? Ding ding ding. System prompt. Touch target Akainu has lava fruit. Do you want to spend 100 million points to extract it? Ding ding ding. System prompt. Touch target Akainu has lava fruit. Do you want to spend 100 million points to extract it? Char said yes without hesitation. The next moment, the lava fruit with a strong aura appeared in front of Char, and his eyes revealed his desire without any disguise. If it weren't for strengthening his own power, he would have replaced the shadow fruit with the lava fruit long ago, but it's a pity that the group of zombies outside still need his shadow fruit to control them. Next, it's the real show. Advertisement. In fact, no fruit is as important as Haki in Char's heart. Because the reason why Char can get to this point now is all due to his almost unparalleled Haki, not the fruit ability. Marine's former Admiral Zephyr said not to rely on fruit abilities, but to practice physical skills more, and Char has always believed that. No matter how strong the fruit ability is, Blackbeard, who has 2 nearly invincible fruit abilities, may not be able to do anything to Char. After Char's hand touched Akainu's body again, the familiar system ringtone sounded in his mind again. Ding ding ding. System prompt. Touch target Akainu has powerful Haki. Yes, CFDB. Consume 100 million points to withdraw. Char said yes silently in his heart, and immediately Akainu's body gushed out extremely powerful Haki, and rushed into Char's body at a speed that could be heard by the naked eye. When this powerful Haki poured into his body, he did not feel the same swelling as before, but his body was strangely calm. What on earth is going on? Char clearly felt that his Haki had not improved, and he immediately doubted his life. He asked the system, and the system soon gave an answer. System prompt. Your Haki level has reached a certain level and cannot be increased for the time being. Char was almost mentally collapsed upon hearing this system message. What the hell is this? What do you mean it cannot be increased? This unprecedented incident made Char scratch his head involuntarily, and he thought about it for a long time but still couldn't figure out why. Another thing that made Char feel very irritated was that, probably because of the battle with Akainu, his current Haki cultivation was not as good as before, which meant that his strength had regressed. However, what made Char feel relieved was that although his Haki cultivation had regressed a lot, he still had an almost invincible Haki cultivation, and he could still deal with the masters of the new world. But if he really had to fight against masters of the level of the Four Emperors, then Char really didn't dare to go head-on. Advertisement. Damn, what's going on with this Haki cultivation? Just when Char was distressed, there was a knock on the door, and Char frowned and said, "Come in." His confidant Hugo walked towards him with majestic steps, and said as he walked, "Chief, I have obtained the information you asked for before." As soon as he finished speaking, he showed a piece of information in front of Char. Char rubbed his forehead with a look of pain, and said in a low voice, "Okay, I know." After that, he picked up the information and lowered his head to look at it carefully. After looking at it for a long time, Char slowly raised his head, as if he had changed into a different person. His eyes became sharp, and he said, "Are you sure?" Hugo nodded heavily and said, "Before you asked me to investigate if there were any pirate groups nearby that could be fought, I immediately thought of this Dia pirate group. This Dia pirate group is simply doing all kinds of evil, making the local people of the Crow country miserable." Char hummed. A gleam of brilliance flashed in his eyes, and said in a cold tone, "Then kill them, notify them, and get ready to go." Soon, the order to go to the expedition was issued to each brigade, and everyone's fighting spirit soared, and they all looked ready to move. "I have been waiting for this day for a long time, ha 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 ha. Brothers, let's do a good job and let Lord Char reward us with fruits. I think the quick-cut fruit is great. Because Char has a lot of devil fruits, he can't use them himself. So he thought of a way, which is to take out these devil fruits and let those pirates who have made great contributions and worked hard get them. On the one hand, it can improve combat effectiveness, and on the other hand, it can improve loyalty. Why not do it? Having a devil fruit ability proves that your combat effectiveness has been greatly improved. What pirate doesn't want to get a powerful devil fruit ability? This is why the pirates are so excited." Of course, no one dared to doubt that the order given by Char was false. Based on Char's amazing performance in the Summit War before, and the 10 billion bounty order given to him by Marine later, Char's image in everyone's mind suddenly became much taller. Most of the pirate bounties here are not over 100 million. When they learned that their leader was a pirate with a bounty worth 10 billion, it made them feel like they had been cheated. Under various factors, these pirates are eager to make achievements and get more rewards. Even the two captains are no exception. The captain of the second team, Nar, who has the ability of the Iron Ball fruit, was so excited that he drank a few sips of wine and urged his pirates to prepare for battle immediately. Even the captain of the first team, Hugo, was no exception and showed an eager look, although he already had the bat fruit and did not need the fruit reward. But because Char was so good to him, Hugo wanted to repay Char's kindness and wanted to kill many enemies as soon as possible to make great achievements for the Great Sha pirates. Another important point is that there are now a few people in the pirate group who want to challenge his position as the second in command, which instantly made Hugo's fighting spirit explode. 169 cranes. After preparing for the expedition, the Great Sha pirates set off smoothly. This time, they brought 70% of their manpower, including powerful zombie soldiers. Such a lineup is not comparable to that of ordinary pirates. Char squinted his eyes and looked at the three ships with the flags of the Great Sha pirates in front of him, looking a little proud. He was just a rag-picking kid back then, and after continuous efforts, he finally reached this point. At the same time, in a city in the Crow country, the pirates of the Dia pirates continued to do their old business here, and countless innocent people died in their hands. The vice-captain of the Dia pirates, Cranes, was as cruel as their captain. All the goods and beautiful women that he took a fancy to were taken away by him, and if there was any resistance, they would be ruthlessly slaughtered. A confidant of the vice-captain Cranes pointed respectfully at several beautiful women in a large and valuable truck behind him, and said with a smile, "Vice-captain, I brought these with great difficulty, but you are stupid." 25. Vice-captain Cranes snorted coldly and said, "You are sensible. By the way, have the defenders of the Crow Kingdom fought with us?" The subordinate was stunned and smiled. "How dare they? We have been to this Crow Kingdom many times. Those defenders know how powerful we are. How dare they challenge us?" Crane nodded and said, "That's true. This Crow Kingdom has always been patronized by them. The defenders of the kingdom did fight with them before, but the end was always a miserable defeat. After that, the weak royal family gave up the idea of fighting with them. Faced with the ruthless slaughter of the Dia pirates, the royal family, who valued human lives, turned a blind eye and pretended not to see their bad behavior." Crane seemed to have thought of something, frowning and asking, "When I came here before, I heard a rumor that there were rebels in the Crow Kingdom, and they seemed to be promoting the name of justice and said they wanted to attack us." The subordinate nodded helplessly and said, "I was just about to tell you about this. This rebel army always launched guerrilla warfare against us, causing us brothers to die here." Cranes was furious and said angrily, "Gather all the troops for me, I want to completely kill this rebel army. Let me see which B***** D dares to cause trouble for our Dia pirates." The confidant lowered his head and didn't look at the fierce eyes, and said hesitantly, "But the captain is not here, if he knows that you gave orders without authorization." Crane slapped him in the face and said viciously, "Now that he is not here, I still have the final say on major matters. Tell me directly, do you listen to me or not? The subordinate gritted his teeth and nodded. Cranes nodded with satisfaction, walked to the center of the street that had completely turned into a bloody hell, and said in a loud voice, "Brothers, now those rebels have actually launched an attack on us and killed many of our brothers. Can you tolerate this?" After hearing this, the pirates who were busy looting the people all stopped their actions at the same time, and rushed over angrily with murderous intent, saying in unison, "No." Cranes smiled, a hint of murderous intent flashed in his eyes, and said, "Brothers, get your weapons and get ready to kill those bastards." These pirates also smiled and roared in various ways. I'm going to see who dares to mess with our pirate group today. You really want to die, and you dare to kill our brothers, Advertisement, brothers, don't show any mercy to the rebels. I wonder if there are any beauties among the rebels. There was a fierce light in everyone's eyes, and some pirates even drooled. Everyone was looking forward to what was to come, as if the rebels were destined to be defeated by them. Cranes cast his eyes on his trusted subordinates and asked softly, "By the way, where are these rebels?" The trusted subordinates said with a trembling voice, "Near the capital of the Crow Kingdom." Although the target was the capital, Cranes didn't take it to heart at all. Even when facing their king, he didn't feel afraid at all. He even hit the wealthy royal family for a while. Cranes excitedly pointed in the direction of the capital of the Crow Kingdom, pretending to be heroic, and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Forward, target the capital." Not long after, a group of uninvited guests came to the capital of the Crow Kingdom. Because of the looting by the Dia pirates, the Crow Kingdom has become unprecedentedly empty, which indirectly led to the deterioration of public security in various cities, even the capital. In this bad situation, if a large group of strange men in black came to the capital, I believe the local people would not doubt their origins. The leading man in black narrowed his eyes and looked at the capital. There was an ominous atmosphere everywhere. There were ragged civilians leaning against the wall everywhere. It seemed that the capital was shrouded in a strange atmosphere full of doubts. Advertisement, therefore, he sighed. This country is sick. Leader, what should we do with our next plan? The right hand of the person who spoke quietly turned into a black iron ball, which looked like a demon fruit power. This person was Nar, the captain of the second team of the Great Shah Pirates. The man called the leader was Char. He shook his head and said, "Let's wait and see, send some people to gather intelligence, remember our purpose, and take down the leader of the Gaia Pirates." Okay. The captain of the second team, Nar, nodded and immediately turned around to arrange the order. At this moment, there was a sudden noise outside the capital, which attracted the attention of countless people. Soon, they were all shocked. The vice captain of the Dia Pirates, Cranes, was rushing with his men, and he was the first to draw out and roared, "Brothers, charge, don't leave anyone, and kill those who dare to resist. Kill, kill, kill. Ha ha ha, the women and goods are all mine, don't rob anyone. Don't leave any." The pirates all had a murderous look, and their eyes were full of greed. It immediately scared the local residents. They have lived in this country for many years, and they have heard of the reputation and terrible behavior of the Dia Pirates, so at this moment they couldn't help but tremble. 170 Nars struggled. They were afraid that they would become the people in the cities that were looted by the Dia Pirates and be ruthlessly slaughtered. I don't know who shouted, "Run!" These civilians reacted quickly, returned to their homes to hide their belongings, and closed the doors and windows tightly. The only ones who didn't move were Char and others. Char put his hand on his chin and smiled. "This is really interesting. I didn't expect the other party to come to the door by himself." Nar asked, "Leader, please give orders."
Char hummed, and glanced at Cranes and others not far away with disdain. A deep contempt flashed in his eyes, and a murderous aura that seemed to freeze everything emanated from his body. He said in a cold tone, "Try to keep them alive." Nar didn't say much, but rushed to the self-righteous Cranes first, and the second team of pirates behind him followed as if they were injected with chicken blood. Not far away, Cranes, who was killing people in the city gate, was stunned when he noticed Nar rushing towards them. He seemed to be very confused about why anyone dared to provoke him in this country. The pirates around Cranes saw someone attacking them, and they were immediately furious. They have been rampant in this Crow country for so many years. Who would not know their reputation? They actually challenged them. What kind of a joke is that?
630 Suddenly, they felt a tremor in their hearts. Could it be the famous rebels? Thinking of this, these pirates became even more angry. These rebels are really looking for death. So the Dia pirates mistakenly thought that the people attacking them were the rebels. A flash of anger flashed in their eyes, and they rushed back. A bunch of trash. Nar quickly turned his hands into huge black iron balls and took the lead to smash the two pirates in front of him, smashing them half to death in an instant. This was because of Char's order. Nar had not used his full strength yet, but he had already achieved the level of instant kill. Advertisement. Seeing this scene, the pirates of the Dia pirates could not help but take a few steps back. Their eyes became very fearful. What was going on? Why could that man turn his hands into iron balls? Could he be demon fruit power? When Char saw this scene, he smiled a little more. This Nar's strength has improved. When the vice captain of the Dia pirates, Cranes, saw that the situation was not right, he tried to boost morale and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Brothers, go ahead, kill this man. I will give you 100,000 Baileys." As the saying goes, there must be brave men under a big reward. The fighting spirit of these pirates of the Dia pirates was suddenly raised, and they rushed towards Nar fearlessly. Nar snorted disdainfully, and fought with them with the iron balls. As a result, after a face-to-face encounter, the lineup of the Dia pirates collapsed completely. Nar's unrivaled strength, and his second team of pirates were not a bunch of idiots. This group of inferior Dia pirates was not their opponent at all, and was defeated in an instant. After killing a pirate with an iron ball, Nar shouted loudly, "The leader has ordered us to keep as many as possible alive, do you understand? Don't worry, leave it to us, kill these little bastards." The second team of the Daxia pirates also shouted loudly. In comparison, the momentum of the Dia pirates was much weaker. Especially the Deputy Captain Cranes, although he still looked calm on the surface, he couldn't help but waver in his heart and had a fearful look. What is the origin of this group of people? How can they be so strong? Are they still human? Crane roared in his heart. Advertisement at this time, as more and more pirates were defeated, the pirates of the Dia pirates cast their expectant eyes on their vice captain, hoping that this Cranes could help. Cranes' face was livid, and his teeth were creaking. He wanted to attack, but once he thought of the terrifying iron ball, he couldn't help but waver, and even his strong thighs began to lose strength. Vice Captain Cranes, take action, we are almost defeated. Yes, we are really not, CFAA. Their opponents. If you don't take action again, I'm afraid we will have to explain here today. Can't you beat that man? What should we do? Vice Captain Cranes. After Cranes listened to the complaints of his pirates, he felt even worse, and finally he could only grit his teeth and rush over. I will fight you. With a roar, Cranes raised his sword and rushed towards Nar. Nar still had a fearless expression, and a pair of iron balls accurately blocked the swinging sword. When Cranes saw that his attack was blocked, his face became even paler. This was his full-strength attack, but it was actually blocked by this man. Damn, how strong is this man? Just when Cranes thought that the battle would be deadlocked, Nar's face changed, a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes, and his body exerted force in vain, and suddenly pushed Cranes away. Cranes uttered a cry and stumbled back a few steps. Nar continued to chase and attack. Before Cranes could react to the current situation, a pair of iron balls hit Cranes' body, instantly blasting Cranes several meters away. With blood flowing from the corners of Cranes' mouth, he climbed up from the ground in disbelief, and cast his astonished eyes on several shocking scars on his body, all of which were caused by the iron balls of this man just now. Moreover, Cranes clearly felt that his strength was slowly disappearing. Not only that, his consciousness seemed to be blurry, and he could not open his eyes. Damn it. Cranes could only groan in pain and watched Nar pick up a pair of iron balls. The Dia pirates could not help but be moved when they saw this scene, and fear appeared in their eyes. This scene made them feel deeply powerless. Even their Vice Captain Cranes was not the opponent of this person, let alone them. You know, their Vice Captain Cranes is worth 10 million Baileys. Could it be that the man who defeated their Vice Captain is a well-known pirate worth tens of millions? A pirate could not help but be shocked, and said in a trembling voice, "My God, what is the origin of this man?" Yes, I also want to. Someone can actually defeat our Vice Captain. What is the origin of this person? I'm afraid they are from a lot of backgrounds. Who said they were rebels? With their strength, how dare we mess with them? They are simply invincible, my God, so scary. We are no match for them, why don't we just withdraw? 171 Defeat the Dia pirates. The heavy blows that followed one after another had made the Dia pirates think that they should not come here, and at the same time they had an irresistible fear in their hearts. How could they beat such a terrible opponent? So they wanted to retreat, but they had no choice but to retreat without the deputy captain, Cranes. Cranes noticed the surprised eyes of the crowd, and gritted his teeth and said, "We retreat." After saying this, he dragged his heavy body that was like lead and ran out with all his strength. Then his pirates ran out in the same way, as if they had escaped countless times. The degree of tacit understanding was jaw-dropping. Nar was stunned for a moment, a little confused, and seemed to not understand why these people fought well and then retreated. Then Nar quickly, 003, recovered and said angrily, "Everyone, don't let these dogs run away. The priority target is those who are still running. Oh. Little b******************* D, you dare to run. No one is allowed to leave." The crew of the Daxia pirates began to chase vigorously, but Cranes and his pirates were still doomed. After being beaten to a pulp, they all fell to the ground one after another. Nar pointed at the pirates lying on the ground, as if pointing at a group of trophies, and said to Char respectfully, "Chief, the mission is accomplished." Char smiled with narrowed eyes. "Move them to a small house, I will turn them into zombie soldiers." "Understood, Chief." After Nar quickly said this, he commanded everyone like a soldier to take these people to a small house, which they occupied. Of course, as for the residents who originally lived there, he had just witnessed the battle with his own eyes. How could he dare to resist? He could only silently shed tears and let them take it away. Fortunately, the Great Shah pirates were not a group of unreasonable guys. They gave him some valuable goods as a price for renting the house. After everything was settled, Char walked into the hut with a satisfied smile, and his eyes kept scanning the crew members of the Dia pirates who were tightly tied with hemp ropes, just like looking at his prey. Although the deputy captain Cranes had a walking bag stuffed into his mouth, he kept making some vague words, as if he was saying something. With curiosity, Char removed his cloth bag, allowing Cranes to speak. Cranes looked fearful, and his voice trembled a little. Who are you? Advertisement. Char chuckled, pointed at himself and smiled. My name is Char, do you know me? Crane frowned and searched hard for information about the name Char in his mind. After a long time, Crane suddenly widened his eyes. A look of indescribable beauty flashed in his eyes, and he murmured, Poison Dragon. Those pirates who were also tied tightly by hemp ropes could not make any sound, but their ears could still hear things. After hearing the name of Sha Ya, they thought about where they had heard this name, just like their vice-captain. It seemed that they had heard this name somewhere. Then Crane's unintentional words woke them up from their dreams, and they remembered Sha Ya, the famous minister. After learning the true identity of the attacker, they were not more excited, but more lifeless. What a joke, the other party is a pirate with 1 billion. A legendary pirate who killed 2 marine admirals in a row. How could we have offended such a person? These were the thoughts in the minds of every member of the Dia Pirates, and even their vice-captain Cranes was no exception. Yes, they were just looting in the Crow country, how could they have offended a peerless strongman like Changya? Char didn't know what they were thinking, but just cast his eyes on the dazed Cranes and asked softly. Hey, I heard that you are the vice-captain, is it true? Crane swallowed a breath nervously and nodded. Advertisement. Char said, then you must know where your captain is. After hearing this, Cranes couldn't help but think wrongly. Could it be that their captain had offended Char, and then Char came to settle accounts with him but failed? Seeing that Cranes was slow to speak, Char frowned and said sternly. If you want to live, tell me where your captain went. Cranes came to his senses after hearing this, and rolled his eyes and said, the captain said before that he was going to rob a place, and said that he would come to Wangdu to meet us in a few days. Char smiled with satisfaction and said in a cold tone, very good, you can die. His voice was not loud, but it made every pirate of the Dia Pirates present feel a chill in their hearts, and they couldn't help trembling. Crane's forehead was covered with cold sweat, and he begged for mercy with all his might. I beg you, let me go. His pirates were shaking violently, and they all looked at Char expectantly, as if they hoped to let them go. Char said expressionlessly, go to hell and regret your mistakes. The next moment, his figure disappeared from the spot, and he kept swinging his fists to kill all the pirates. All the pirates present, except Cranes, were killed by Char in an instant. Cranes was first surprised that Char's strength was really as strong as the legend, and then he showed a puzzled look. Why didn't Char attack him for a long time? Was Char going to let him go? Thinking of this, Crane's eyes flashed with a barely perceptible ecstasy, and he continued to beg for mercy. Lord Char, as long as you are willing to let me go, I am willing to do anything for you. Char said with interest, and after a long pause, he asked, is 1.2 true? Hearing this, Cranes thought he had convinced Char. His dim eyes once again shone brightly. He nodded vigorously and said in a deep voice, this is true. If it's false, I will be struck by lightning, Char said, then are you willing to fight for me and fight everywhere? Cranes' ecstasy became stronger. Could it be that Lord Char was attracted by his strength and wanted him to be his younger brother? As he thought about it, Crane's mood became better and better, and he was determined that the famous pirate in front of him would be attracted by his weak strength. The next moment, Cranes was at a loss because of Char's actions. He saw Char walk behind him, took out a pair of scissors, and cut off his shadow. 172 Crow Kingdom Cranes was stunned, not understanding what Char's move meant. When he was about to say something, his consciousness became blurred and the strength in his body was gradually disappearing. Damn, what happened to me? The fatigue hit Cranes' brain like a tide, making him unable to open his eyes. Cranes' lips kept twitching, as if he wanted to say something, but his vitality was getting weaker and weaker, and he finally fell down. After a disdainful snort, Char stuffed Cranes' shadow into Cranes' body. Not long after, a terrifying zombie soldier with dull eyes and a strange aura all over his body was born. At this moment, countless familiar system ringtones flashed in Char's mind. Ding dee dee. Kill a pirate from the Dia Pirates and get 5,000 points. Ding dee dee. Kill 10 pirates from the Dia Pirates and get 50,000 points. Ding dee dee. Kill 30 pirates from the Dia Pirates and get 15,000 points. However, the system ringing has not stopped yet. Ding dee dee. Kill the vice-captain of the Dia Pirates, Cranes, and get 20,000 points. Ding dee dee. Kill the vice-captain of the Dia Pirates, Cranes, and get 20,000 points. Ding dee dee. Kill the vice-captain of the Dia Pirates, Cranes, and get 20,000 points. Advertisement. Char raised his mouth slightly and walked out of the hut with the creature that had just turned into a zombie, leaving countless bodies with body temperature in the hut. Not long after he walked out of the hut, Char soon learned about the messenger sent by the Crow Kingdom. An inexplicable light flashed in his eyes, and he asked Nar, who came to report, in a calm tone. Do you know what the other party is here for? Nar, who only knew how to fight, shook his head, looking at a loss. Char sighed softly and said, then I will know what this person wants to do. At this time, Nar pointed at the vice-captain and said in disbelief, isn't this the vice-captain? At this time, Nar didn't know Char's methods, but he knew that he had some superb methods that could turn others into zombies. Char smiled, and for a loyal subordinate like Nar, he still told him the truth, so he patiently explained it to him. Not long after, Char soon met the minister sent by the royal family of the Crow Kingdom. The minister was dressed brightly and watched Char's figure coming with a smile on his face. Char said somewhat dismissively, "You are the messenger?" The ministers of the Crow Kingdom did not care about Char's rude behavior in their eyes. They saluted Char gracefully and said, "That's right. I came here on the orders of the Crow Kingdom to ask you why you came to my Crow Kingdom." Char snorted disdainfully, found a place to sit down casually, crossed his arms and sneered. "I came here just to eliminate the harm to the people and kill the Dia pirates." The minister of the Crow Kingdom couldn't believe it and asked, "Just that?" Char snorted again and said in a cold tone, "Of course it's not just that. I also want to borrow some belly from your country." There was a hidden threat in his tone, which immediately made the minister sweat. The minister of the Crow Kingdom didn't understand that Char was going to force belly from them, so he forced a smile and said, "Our Crow Kingdom has been persecuted by the Dia pirates, so we really can't give out much belly." Char smiled slowly and said, "I have heard from the people before that the royal family of your country is a group of greedy villains. I think there will be some more valuable goods among them." As soon as this sentence came out, the minister of the Crow Kingdom was immediately frightened. This Char directly said bad things about their royal family. It was obvious that he wanted to pit their royal family. Thinking of this, the minister of the Crow Kingdom sweated more on his forehead. He lowered his head that was once held high, and said in a low voice, "Lord Char, we in the Crow Kingdom really can't afford Bailey. Please let us go." Char snorted disdainfully, with deep contempt in his eyes, and said, "I'll tell you the truth. If you can't afford 1 billion Bailey today, I promise that none of your royal family will die here." As soon as this was said, the fear like poison deeply invaded the heart of the minister of the Crow Kingdom, and he almost couldn't breathe. The minister of the Crow Kingdom gently wiped the cold sweat that kept coming out of his forehead, and said in a trembling voice, "You mean, TN Bailey?" "Yes, 1 billion Bailey." Char smiled with narrowed eyes. The minister of the Crow Kingdom rolled his eyes and kept calculating in his mind. If it was only 1 billion Baileys, they could squeeze out a lot of money from the wealth of the civilians to offset the unexpected loss. Besides, their royal family had reasons not to let these civilians spit out the money. If they told these stupid civilians that it was the money they had to pay to eliminate the Dia pirates, these stupid civilians would definitely believe it. After a brief thought, the minister of the Crow Kingdom felt a little better. His pale face gradually became more angry. He smiled and bowed his hands seriously. 1 billion Baileys still put a lot of pressure on the country. How about raising it?
There was a flash of coldness in Char's eyes, and he said in a cold tone, "Now I have changed my mind, 1.5 billion.
The smile of the minister of the Crow Kingdom froze on his face. It took a long time for him to recover. He was a little bit unbelievable. His eyes were about to pop out, and he blurted out in disbelief. 1.5 billion? Didn't you say 1 billion just now? Why did you suddenly change? Sha Ya looked like he was so domineering that he said, "I'm in a bad mood. Can't you hit me?" The minister of the Crow Kingdom was so angry that he rolled his eyes. How did Sha Ya come up with this 1.5 billion Baileys? 1 billion Baileys had almost hurt their vitality, and they still wanted 1.5 billion Baileys. This was going to kill their royal family. Indeed, the royal family had made a lot of money over the years, but it was not enough for the 1.5 billion Baileys. As long as he thought about telling the royal nobles to take out 1.5 billion, his mood became particularly bad, and he felt a strong regret in his heart. If he had known this, he would have agreed to the 1 billion Baileys. Now there was no point in saying anything. The minister of the Crow Kingdom was afraid that Sha Ya would make more outrageous and unreasonable demands. The minister of the Crow Kingdom rolled his eyes and fainted completely. 173 bill. So finally, the minister of the Crow Kingdom finally sighed. His face became more solemn than ever, nodded a little heavily, and said, "I will take out 1.5 billion as soon as possible." Sha Ya narrowed his eyes and smiled again, saying, "I have changed my mind again now." The minister of the Crow Kingdom rolled his eyes and fainted completely. Unknowingly, it was sunset, and the sky began to take on a red color. The minister of the Crow Kingdom told the royal nobles about the agreement reached between Sha Ya and him, which instantly caused a shock. The king of the Crow Kingdom immediately announced a meeting to discuss how to solve the problem of Sha Ya and others. In this meeting, the nobles really fought to the death. There are two factions in total. One is the support for giving Bailey, and the other is the one that believes in refusing to give Sha Yu Bailey. The reason held by the nobles who support giving Sha Ya 1.5 billion Bailey is so impeccable, they can't afford to offend the Crow Kingdom. Just this simple and crude reason made countless opposition nobles speechless. But the opposition nobles did not oppose without reason. First, if they reached a deal with a big pirate like Char, what would the reaction be if the world government knew that they had reached such an agreement with a pirate? You have to know that Char is not an ordinary pirate. He is a pirate with a bounty of 10 billion, it's no joke. If it was just a pirate worth tens of millions, maybe the world government would turn a blind eye. Second, they can't afford so much Bailey. Thinking back to his father's time, the Crow Kingdom was so powerful, but it became like this in his hands. If he died one day in the future, how would he face his father? There was an unusual atmosphere everywhere on the street. The residents did not open the door because of the departure of the Dia pirates. There were patrol soldiers with serious expressions everywhere. Some soldiers seemed to be on guard against something. Char kept a calm face and said, "I have something to leave for a while." Then he turned around and left the temporary gathering point and went straight to the palace. Don't use your cleverness in this dangerous time, we can't stand your unreasonable jokes. Advertisement: the Crow country is not particularly good with any country. It is completely a lone ranger. The people under its rule are even poorer. It is the civilians who have been directly hit by the Dia pirates over the years. There were even nobles who pointed out a problem bluntly: maybe we are all richer than the common people. At that time, almost all the nobles nodded silently. This was indeed an indisputable fact. According to the nobles' remarks, this man named Bill usually behaves very improperly, so the fiery light in the eyes of the nobles dimmed all of a sudden. They thought it was a famous noble who spoke, but it was Bill. It's so slow, is the royal family planning not to pay, so they are slowing down the time? Char's face remained unchanged after hearing this, but a big storm was brewing in his heart. At this moment, a noble with an arrogant smile suddenly stood up, clenched his fist and said loudly, "Everyone, I have a way, listen to me." The old king squinted his eyes, as if he had not woken up, and watched the nobles quarreling quietly, but he felt very distressed in his heart. "Oh, it's Noble Bill, if you have any ideas, just tell me." It turned out that the Great Shah pirates were divided into two teams. Bill raised a proud smile and said in a cold tone. However, the next moment, Bill said something they had always neglected. Char decided to go directly to the royal family. Now that Char knew that the main force of the Dia pirates was likely to pass through the bay, he immediately and decisively issued an order to the troops staying at the bay, asking them to pay special attention to the ships coming and going, and to notify him as soon as they met the Dia pirates. At this time, a crew member's unintentional complaint made Char's hair stand on end, and a hint of vigilance flashed in his eyes. Why don't we ask Marine for help? Isn't this Noble Bill who usually claims to be cunning? Advertisement, haha, a coward also has a way. A noble named Wechunglu, who supported the party, shouted hoarsely and spat. As long as each of us takes out most of the money in our family, we can have this 1.5 billion Baileys. The Crow country, which has been poisoned by the Dia pirates for so many years, really can't afford so much Bailey. The only feasible way is to borrow money from other countries or ask for more Bailey from the people under its rule. The noble's ears were really red from arguing, and the situation was once out of control. Even the old king, who was good at Bajikwan, could not control the situation well. After making a series of arrangements, Char did not feel relieved, but a strange feeling surged in his heart. After hearing this, the pupils of the nobles shrank rapidly, and their expressions were obviously quite stiff. The old king, who was high above, showed astonishment, and looked at Bill with a little more disbelief. At the same time, Char didn't care what conclusions these nobles would make, but contacted Hugo, the captain of the first team. Second, all the remaining crew members, led by Hugo, stayed at the outer bay of the Crow Kingdom to prevent the Dia pirates from escaping and to be especially wary of possible attacks. After hearing this, the nobles couldn't help but be moved, and they all looked at this noble. After all, they were not simply going to wipe out the Dia pirates. Their main goal was to get the large amount of property that the Dia pirates had obtained by robbing houses for many years. So they had to gather intelligence to avoid the Dia pirates being killed and not knowing where the property was. Char frowned and thought deeply. He always felt that he had forgotten something important, but for a while, he still couldn't figure out what he had missed. First, Char, with all the pirates in the second team, went to the capital to gather intelligence to see what was going on with the Dia pirates. Seeing this scene, Char was more certain of his guess. I'm afraid that the people on the royal side would probably breach the contract. At the beginning, a noble from the opposition stood up, with a mocking smile on his face, and said coldly, "Then do you dare to take out all your wealth to set an example?" The noble who supported the party was speechless for a moment and sat back in his chair quickly. "You don't want to tell a few cold jokes here, 174 soldier captain." With all kinds of doubts in his mind, Sha Ya came to the palace gate, but was stopped by several guards who were facing a great enemy. "Stop." A guard looked serious, as if he knew his origins, and shouted sternly. "I want to see what you guys want to do." Char suddenly laughed loudly and raised a proud smile. A man who looked like the captain of the guards came over, suppressed his surprise, and looked at Sha Ya with a stern face, and said in a low voice, "I know who you are, Sha Ya. Now the big shots inside are talking about you, and I believe the results will come out soon, so I hope you can wait a little longer." "I think so too. Let's go and look for him." The captain of the guard stood there silently. His face was obviously quite stiff, a flash of disbelief flashed in his eyes, and at the same time, an ominous premonition rose in his heart. He always felt that something was wrong. This Shah might not be as simple as he imagined. However, the next moment, everyone only felt a flash before their eyes, and then they felt as if they had lost something important. They fell backwards with confused consciousness, and even the captain of the guard was no exception. The captain of the guard had the strongest willpower among the group of people. He resisted the sudden fatigue and did not let his body fall backwards. He muttered in disbelief. "What is going on?" After saying this, he finally fell to the ground, unable to resist. "Everyone, look for it quickly. This Char must have used some secret method to hide his figure." Char smiled with satisfaction, then squinted his eyes and looked towards the palace, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. The captain of the guards narrowed his eyes slightly, a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes, and he stood there silently, as if he was not threatened by Char at all. Before he closed his eyes, the captain of the guard seemed to see Char's figure. Before he could say anything, he had already died quietly. Advertisement, of course, Char would not let them off so easily. After Char snorted disdainfully, he poured all the shadows he had just obtained into these soldiers who had not died for a long time, turning them into zombie field soldiers who obeyed him. The old king insisted on his opinion and shouted at the top of his lungs, since that Char has 1.5 billion berries, it proves that he is not just a simple 5.2. We are not his opponent. If they know that we told Marine that he is here, we will be in trouble. The king's warning seemed to make sense, but in the eyes of these nobles, the old king was just like an old stubborn man. But what attracted the nobles was a cold smile and laughter. Don't you think Char is not afraid of Marine? You have to know that it is Marine? I say, my king, are you old and confused? My king, are you thinking too much? Ha 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 ha. Bill is right. We can only defeat this evil enemy by relying on Marine. Hearing this, Bill raised his proud head and looked down at the old king with a cold face. This is also the fundamental reason why the captain of the guards has been intercepting Char. These unrecognizable zombie soldiers slowly got up from the ground, stood in front of him honestly without any expression, motionless, as if they didn't dare to move at all without Char's order. The captain of the guards seemed to be talking to the air, and said with a smile, "If anyone dares to break into the forbidden area of the palace, we will not let him go." This sentence can be seen as saying to his companions, or as threatening Char. The soldiers and the captain of the guards seemed to not understand Char's two sentences, and a look of confusion appeared on their faces. Just as they were thinking about what Char was saying, Char's figure suddenly disappeared from the spot, as if Char didn't exist in the world at all. Sha Ya still said coldly, "I say it again, get out of here." Ding dee dee. System prompt. Kill a guard soldier from the Crow Country and get 3,000 points. Ding dee dee. System prompt. Kill the captain of the guard soldiers from the Crow Country and get 6,000 points. At the same time, the palaces had just launched an unprecedented coup, and countless nobles threatened the king. Sha Ya frowned and said coldly, "Get out of here, or I will kill you." As soon as the words came out, a terrible chill emanated from him, which made the guards' hearts tremble, and a trace of fear flashed in their eyes. Just now, Char forcibly took away their shadows with lightning speed, causing these soldiers who lost their shadows to completely lose consciousness and die under the sun. Advertisement, oh my god, is this a witchcraft? The familiar system ringtone sounded again in Char's mind. Since you think your life is too long, then I can't do anything about it. And Char seemed to treat the soldiers who had just arrived as air. His face never changed, his tone was still so domineering, and he said coldly, "Get out or not." The faces of the soldiers around him changed immediately, and everyone's face was full of anger, and their eyes were like spitting fire. This poisonous dragon couldn't sneak into the palace by itself. Everyone, look for it quickly. I feel something is wrong. Seeing so many companions coming, the captain of the guards seemed to have confidence, his back straightened, and the confidence on his face became stronger. Just a while ago, the superiors ordered him to stop Char's men if they came. If he couldn't stop them, he would definitely delay the time. Ding dee dee. System prompt. Kill 10 guard soldiers from the Crow Country and get 30,000 points. That's right, it was Char who attacked these guard soldiers. At this moment, the soldiers who were patrolling around noticed what was happening here, gave up their original tasks, trotted over, and surrounded Char with serious expressions. It seemed that as long as Char made a move, they would attack in groups. Where did the poisonous dragon go? I just wanted to add a lot of zombie soldiers. Since you are here, I will accept it with pleasure. Although these soldiers were too weak, who told them to offend him just now? So this was also because Char didn't give them a chance to keep their bodies intact and let their souls rest in peace like he did with the pirates of the Dia Pirates. Ding dee dee. System prompt. Kill 15 guard soldiers from the Crow Country and get 45,000 points. 175 The king is under house arrest. Bill walked up to him gracefully and said in a cold tone. Or, King, are you willing to pay 1.5 billion to Char? The old king narrowed his eyes slightly and shouted loudly, as long as everyone works together, everything will turn around. After hearing this, Bill smiled brightly, as if what the king said was the funniest joke in the world. He turned around gracefully and said loudly to the nobles who were showing mocking smiles. Everyone, do you think Marine can't beat a mere pirate? The nobles laughed out loud, and everyone had a cold smile on their faces. The eyes they cast on the old king were so cold, no longer the respectful and fearful eyes before. If this happened to other countries, most of them would probably choose to give the huge amount of Bailey to Char like the old king in order to seek peace. But the Crow Kingdom is different from most kingdoms. It is a relatively backward kingdom. Whether it is technology, military strength, or territory, it seems a bit down and out. Of course, the Crow Kingdom is much luckier than other countries. Because of its small territory and remoteness, the only pirate group that comes here is the Dia Pirates, which is not a mainstream pirate force. This indirectly leads to the people of this country thinking that pirates are vulnerable. So this Crow Kingdom is a rural country no matter how you look at it. It is precisely because of this that most people in this country firmly believe that Marine is absolutely invincible. This is also why the supporters in the court, who were obviously in the upper hand, suddenly changed their direction due to Bill's remarks, causing everyone to oppose the huge amount of 1.5 billion Baileys to be handed over to Char. But the old king is different. He has a wide range of knowledge and has experienced a lot of things. He can see at a glance that Char is not a simple man. A pirate with a bounty of 1 billion, and he also killed the Marine Admiral. No matter how you look at it, this man can kill all his brothers with the strength of 10 people. Those weathered old scholars and old nobles, like the old king, hold the same idea, but they are old and their right to speak has long been taken away by their younger generations. Even if they express their support for the old king, they cannot change the situation that has been controlled by these ignorant young nobles. This is because in the court, only the old king always supports giving a huge amount of Bailey, while most of the nobles are against him. In normal times, these nobles may not dare to go against the old king, but at this moment, they suddenly became bold and chose to be the enemy of the old king and support Billy, who has a bad reputation. But the old king did not seem to give up the resistance. He launched the last resistance, adjusted his beard, and sneered. If Marine is really willing to fight for you, why didn't Marine come to fight the Dia pirates when they came to our country to commit their atrocities for so many years? The old king's words hit the nail on the head and hit everyone's soft spot. Advertisement, yes. If the world government really cares about them, why didn't Marine come when pirates like the Dia pirates came?
Bill seemed to know that the old king would say this. He drank the cup in his hand, showed a rebellious look, and whispered, "That's because the Dia pirates are not worth Marine's effort. Pirates like Char, who have billions of dollars, will attract their attention, right?"
After hearing this, the nobles seemed to agree with him and nodded heavily. The old king's forehead was bulging with veins. He stood up fiercely and pointed at Bill excitedly and said, "You are talking nonsense." Bill showed a calm expression. Facing the accusations of the country's supreme ruler, he did not waver at all, and his face was always so calm.
The situation was deadlocked, and the nobles were still chattering and persuading the old king to agree to this matter and hand over the full command of this matter to Bill. The old king would definitely not agree to their unreasonable demands, and he glanced coldly and did not talk to them.
It was precisely because of the old king's attitude that many nobles became impatient. If time passed by little, they really couldn't stand it. Billy saw that the time was almost right and the situation was one-sided. He showed an arrogant smile, clenched his fists and said loudly, "Everyone, since the king is now stubborn and refuses to agree to our request, we can only be forced to take that action." After hearing this, everyone fell into silence. It was obvious that they knew what Billy was talking about. That is, to ban the king. There is an unwritten rule in the Crow Kingdom that if the king does something that ordinary people cannot understand, the nobles can temporarily replace him in law enforcement and exercise political power. Advertisement. After a long time, these nobles expressed their support for Billy through their actions. Alas, now that things have come to this, there is no other way, we can only do that. Your Majesty, we don't want to do that either. Since you're like this, we really can only do this. Don't blame us, Your Majesty. Your Majesty, please take a good rest. I think you are really old and confused. You really disappoint everyone. You are no longer the smart and capable king you used to be. Come on, take Your Majesty down to have a good rest. The nobles' cold voices rang out, and they were like cold judges, sentencing the king's fate. The old king knew very well what kind of fate he would face next. He would probably be locked in the bedroom by these bastards, Nuo Jiaos. So the old king grinned fiercely, revealing a fierce look that was not in line with his previous appearance. Suddenly, he opened his big hands, a hint of sarcasm flashed in his eyes, and he laughed loudly. "You will bring trouble because of your stupidity, ha 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 ha." After throwing down this cruel word, he let himself be taken away by the palace guards with a face full of reluctance, and the nobles watched him leave with cold eyes. Just as the old king was about to leave this place, Billy showed an expression of victory, and a hint of excitement flashed in his eyes. He didn't expect that he could do so much. If he could handle the matter well, and that damn Char was killed by Marine, his status in this country would naturally rise in the future. What was even more unexpected was that those nobles who used to be high above were successfully provoked by him, and they turned their guns against the old king. He really didn't expect it.